lives ablaze, moments that steal the mundane's haze. No fear, no hold in this maze. Reach the peak of these wild days. It lives, Friday night lives. You die, but Friday night lives. Hosted by Deadbeat Radio, Stuntman Mark and Rambo Rap.
Woo! Let's go, Bulls. We are back for another edition of Friday Night Lives. This is something completely different tonight. We have never, ever done anything really like this before because I don't even think we've ever really that much talked outside of the genre, or at least of like, two separate genres like action and horror films. But tonight, we are going to rank our favorite films from 1980 to 1985. So, and we're gonna have 5 films each in each year. So we're not gonna rank just one film for each year. So yeah, but this is gonna be.
Wait, we are doing ranking.
Oh shit. Yeah, we're doing ranking, Mark. I told you to do it. Now you better fucking just figure it out while we're on the fly. You'll do it live like fucking Bill O'Reilly now.
You doing more? I believe in you.
Yeah,
I believe it.
So tell us the story behind this, Mark, because this was actually your idea.
Yeah, so I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and it stemmed from Star Wars and my ranking or rating, I should say, for that movie. And he wanted
how much
to
you
know,
hate it. How much you hate it.
Hate's a strong word. I don't hate Star Wars, but
5 out of 10, 5 out of 10.
Give it a 5 out of 10. I don't think I've ever heard anybody give Star Wars a 5 out of 10. I mean, there are some people that hate Star Wars, so maybe.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like Friedkin. He hates all superhero movies.
That's true.
I mean,
yeah,
he just lumps them all together. They're undoubtedly some of them are much better than others, but to him, it's all the same shit. So, but yeah, so my friend wanted to know what I liked from 1977, my top 5 favorite movies, and I figured this would be a good idea, not just for the 70s. Let's do the 80s. Maybe we'll probably do the 90s at some point, but just to do 5 favorite of each year. And let's talk about them a little bit. And maybe there'll be some stuff I forgot. We don't know each other's lists, by the way.
Yep.
And I think doing an objectively like what's best of the year list is not really as fun, because then you'd get whatever year it is, like everybody's got Godfather in the top 5 or some shit like that. We don't want to.
Not me.
Well, you're always the exception, Rambo.
Yeah.
I don't like Godfather.
But you know what I mean. So yeah, let's dig into this. I think this will be fun. This is a very subjective list for everybody in the chat. It'll be fun because like everybody in the chat can put up their favorites if they want, or talk about whatever we're listing off. That's give opinions. It's be very interactive, I think.
Yeah, so please keep in mind that like this is just our favorites of each year.
Mm-hmm.
We know that there are probably better made movies.
Yes.
I know some of mine are in each year, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we like them more. And these are the ones that we actually like enjoy the most from each year.
Mm-hmm.
So also keep in mind, like you can put up whatever you want, like from each year in the chat. I'll try to get to them as much as humanly possible about everybody's picks too. And yeah, this should be interesting because like you said, Mark, we've never seen what each other has. So we don't know. All we know is that the year and the movies that are in the year, and like we're just going to go from there. And I guess the way to do it, like you said, would be each person reads off like theirs down the list, like starting from 5 up to 1, because you're supposed to fucking rank them. And
well, that was last minute.
Well, that's what's happened. So like, yeah. And then we'll just, like anytime anybody names one, we'll just kind of talk about it. And we'll probably have some of the same. We have to. Like there's some of these movies I just know that like we're going to have the same pick.
Oh yeah, definitely. Should we do like maybe a 6th honorable mention? Maybe.
We can, because I kept all the ones on mine that were like from that year. So I've got like 10 or 15 movies.
Me too.
And I just
did
kind
the
of
same
whittled
thing.
it. I just kind of whittled it down from like, that
Yeah.
to 5.
And
I don't, because I have to look up the 6th movie because I was told 5 and I picked 5. I followed the rules. I have to look up the 6th one.
well, that's the thing. Like, I mean, this probably was a lot harder for Uncle Bill, but I mean, I had like 15, 20 movies per year. And the way I decided, because I mean, I love all these movies that I have on the list, but I mean, what do I watch the most? What do I reach for on the shelf the most? What's my most watched? I think that's the best way to determine if it's actually your favorite. You might love them equally, but which one do you watch more? I think that's more deciding factor of what's your favorite.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that, and that's the way we kind of all looked at it. Like, which one of these do we watch the most now? Like, which one of these are kind of like the ones that we would go to and watch like now, probably. Some of these movies, as I was looking at, I've seen them a million times when I was a kid. But that doesn't necessarily mean that like they're the ones that I would go to and watch now or anything.
Right. Yeah.
So it's a combination of a bunch of different kind of factors that led to this list for me.
Yeah. I mean, some I'm burnt out on. Like, I'm looking at it right now and like,
Yep.
I've seen these movies so many freaking times, but it is what it is. I mean, we'll get into it though.
Yeah. So who's gonna go first? Do we fucking like draw straws, or like how do we know?
I guess Rambo. Since it was so easy for him.
So yeah, this is 1980.
You came up with a mark.
I did, but
You need time to rank them. I see.
that's right. Yeah.
He does. He's gonna sit there and fucking rank them, run through a computer system, randomize them.
Sure, I could go first.
Okay.
So you said start from 5 and go up to 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this, everybody keep in mind that we're going to do, from 80 to 85. We're starting with 80 first. So that's what
I'm going to break the rules. I can't rank these. It's just.
All right. Don't rank them then, Mark.
I won't.
Shit.
Fine.
Handy ass. Let's go.
So 1980 at number 5, I put John Carpenter's The Fog. Love that movie.
That's a great one.
It's a wonderful ghost story. One of my favorite ghost story films. I love the atmosphere of it. Great cast. You got Tom Atkins. You got Jamie Lee Curtis. You got Adrienne Barbeau. Underrated musical score from John Carpenter. I know he wasn't big on it, but I actually think it's one of his better films. And I like the kills in it. I just love the whole atmosphere. I think the whole fog setting brings a nice creepy flow to everything.
Yeah, I love the idea too of like the scene where the guy tells the ghost story, and I forget that guy's name. He's a famous
John
actor.
Houseman.
Yeah, and he's got like he's telling it by the campfire and everything. It's just the ghost story kind of movie vibe in that. That would have been my honorable mention, by the way, of 1980.
It's in my top 5.
Okay. Yeah.
So number 4. I put a fun creature feature film for me, Alligator. And because it's a ridiculous idea, but the fact that John Sayles wrote a very witty script with it, I think impresses me. I love Robert Forster. I love the dialogue where the whole thing making fun of his receding hairline, which is very relatable. That's why I shave it all. And having a big giant gator in the sewers in New York is such a B-movie fun idea, but at the same time you had forget his name, the bad Henry Silva, who was in Above the Law. He plays this crazy hunter who's making all these weird mating sounds to hook up with this chick. And it kind of just delivers what you want. Even there's a scene where these little kids have pushed another kid into a swimming pool, and then there happens to be the gator in it, and then you see all this blood. So, kind of like Jaws, kids aren't safe in the movie. And again, it's a silly idea. Gators in the sewer flush down because of certain things. It becomes gigantic. But at the same time, you have a good lead, good cast, good script, and the effects for its time work well. So,
yeah, it really doesn't ever really show a lot of the alligator to the point where it gets like goofy or anything like that, but like it has some pretty good practical effects. I mean, it's a pretty good monster film from that time period too. But people don't ever really mention it that much, but like it's right up there.
Right. So then number 3, I put, of course, The Changeling. I had to put that on there with
Oh,
George
fuck
C. Scott.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Again, I love the ghost story aspect. I love just the story in general. George C. Scott is a fantastic actor, both
Yep.
in that, The Exorcist 3 commands the screen.
Mhm.
A lot of memorable scenes, the ball going down the stairwell,
Mhm.
the whole finale, the fiery finale. And again, it's subtle, but it has very creepy elements, very memorable opening. I mean,
Yeah.
for the few that haven't seen it, I won't spoil it, but it's a very memorable opening, and yeah, you know what that is. Like I say, just a really good story underneath with a commanding performance by a great lead actor that really helps at that ghost story aspect. You don't see a lot of there's a lot of ghost story movies, but it's a lot of like trying to be cheap jump scare stuff, and it's not quite that.
I swear though, like his character in this is almost identical to his character in Extras 3. Like they're basically the same. Really, if you think about it. But like
Yeah.
I love the musical aspect of this too. Like I think he's a piano teacher or a composer or something in it as well. Like, and like that running melody that goes through like the whole movie that's played on the piano, and yeah, just everything that has to do with the psychics when they come in and like they're doing the
Mhm.
writing and all that has been ripped off 1,000 times now. But like that scene is especially effective for that time period too, and it's just a really atmospheric, great film.
Mhm.
And number 2, I put The Shining. I had to put it on there. Stanley Kubrick. I know some people find the film boring. I never did. I if it's done poorly, I would, but just again, from the beginning, with that camera work across the water to
Mhm.
roving around the hotel. Yes, Jack Nicholson is crazy from minute 1. Like you never see him as the nice dad.
Yep.
But man, what a performance that's still memorable to me. Like again, it might I forgive it for not building up the character. Yes, it would have been better, but at the same time, the good outweigh the bad on that, and it's so just iconic of a performance. I know it's a weird word to use, but from the give me the bat, give me the bats, darling, my life. I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna bash your brains in, go bash them all the fucking.
Yeah. That's one of the best speeches like ever going up those steps. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also want to commend to Sally. She passed away. Shelley Duvall. She
Yeah.
got a lot of crap for it. She did deserve it. She was wonderful. I felt sorry for her. You bought her fear, probably because Sally some of the stuff going on set, which is I don't approve of. But man, like she pulled it off very well. And I did the music, just such a well directed movie, The Shining. I just really appreciate what Kubrick did with that movie.
That's on my list, by the way.
Same here.
I'll just go ahead and tell you, yeah, it's in my top 5.
And then number 1, this is going to come out of left field, but I love this movie. Cheech and Chong's next movie.
Somebody actually, I think Adam Beck actually just mentioned that, like his number 2.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, Adam. Yeah, that I'm a big Cheech and Chong fan. I love Up in Smoke, but I also love next movie. Just those two worked so well together. They were a great team. There's a couple of the movies afterward that I like, but I think that's our last great movie together. Even from the Mexican American, they go to night school and did a B. You got a very young Paul Rubens as Pee Wee Herman at the motel. I think they're Iranians or whatever he says on the phone, just thinking they're terrorists. And from the wackiness of Cheech Marin playing the other guy, Cousin Red, and the weird like stand-up routine that they get the lady to do, and she's just laughing hysterically. It's such a fun movie. It's just a hilarious, fun movie. From the horrible place they're staying at that's dirty, and they got the motorcycle revving, killing all the flowers, driving the neighbor crazy, to the weird like spaceship's alien ending that comes out of left field. that movie would not be made today, but man, I'm so glad it was made because I could watch it and still laugh my ass off. And yeah, I those two guys were so great in that movie. So
Nice.
there you go.
I always get those movies confused though. But is that the one that has Tom Skerritt in it? Where
That's the
he's
Up in Smoke.
Up in Smoke has Tom Skerritt. Okay,
Mhm.
I get those two mixed up.
And that's my
So
number one. So there you go.
Good list.
Cheech and Chong. So yeah, well, I haven't gone to the chat yet. Real quick. I'm just gonna name the people that are in here because we'll get to the picks after we get done with 1980. We have there's like a ton of people in here. I'm not even exaggerating when I say that.
Nice.
Bobby, Blu-ray Addict, Attention Fan, Vanderhoff, Adrian James, Max T, Brad, Blu-ray Addict, Jostradamus, Hoblone, Derek Roberts, Gabbo, Adam Beck, which I never see Adam Beck in here. Real Kingpin, Josh Pritt, Ryan Hop, Charlie Cervase, and a bunch more. So thanks to everybody for being in here and for sharing your picks. All right, Mark. You came up with the fucking thing, so you go next.
I was actually, while I was listening to Rambo, people are putting some interesting picks on the list. Keep them coming, guys. I want to see what everybody likes for every year.
Yeah, we'll be going through them too after
Yeah. So Shining, Changeling, those are mentioned. So I'll just dive into the others. I got Dressed to Kill on here. Again, for everybody watching, my stuff is in no particular order. Yeah, Dressed to Kill, man. One of my favorite De Palmas. Just the framing of the shots, Angie Dickinson, Michael Caine, obviously.
Michael Caine. Yep.
Yeah. Just one of my favorites from him, man. Like, obviously, with the more current releases, we have all the uncut and unrated footage and stuff now. So that's always a plus. You get to see more of that opening shower sequence, which is nice.
Yep.
But yeah, I think the cat's out of the bag on the ending a little bit, but go ahead. What were you going to say, Uncle Bill?
I was just going to say that's on my list too.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. I could drool over that movie all day. I love Dressed to Kill. So Maniac is one of my absolute favorite Bill Lustig movies. Everybody knows it. Not too much I can even talk about with that one. I mean, Savini's effects, Spinell's performance, those two things alone, what more do you need, really? I mean,
yep.
Just all sorts of epic. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That was 5, right?
That was 4, wasn't it? Dressed to Kill, Changeling, Shining.
Oh, and The Fog, which was one that was on your list. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of said everything there is to say about it. Who doesn't love John Carpenter's atmosphere? He's the only one that can do that in his films. I mean, nobody else does it like him. The music as well. That opening theme when the credits are coming up, just fantastic. Love it. So that's my top 5, which I'm sure a lot of those are on other people's lists as well. So I think we kind of, between me and Rambo, we got your whole list, UB, or what?
No, man. I've actually got several on here that are not the same. So
okay.
I've got, well, I'll just go through them.
Mm-hmm.
And keep in mind, when I tell you these, it is what it is. These are movies that I grew up with. So number 5, I've got the Blues Brothers.
Okay.
It is possibly one of my favorite cult movies. I think that Dan Aykroyd and Belushi are amazing in it, as well as it has the best musical numbers possibly of any film like that too. It actually has a real band for one thing, that are behind them playing that as well. Some of the most underrated scenes of any comedy. John Landis, back when he was really good, making dark comedies and dark humor. John Landis actually shows up on my list a couple of times too, by the way.
Yeah.
Just interestingly.
before you start killing people.
before he start. Yeah, he might be the only murderer on my list too. But yeah, the Blues Brothers is definitely up there. It's my number 5. My number 4 is Dress to Kill.
Okay.
Dress to Kill is, I mean, it's one of De Palma's best movies in my opinion, and it has some of the best camera work I've ever seen,
Yeah.
especially in the elevator scene.
Yes.
That might be one of the best directed sequences I've ever seen. Like just to go to. And then, like you said, the twist and everything at the end, which is not really a twist anymore. Everybody pretty much knows what it is, but like,
Yeah.
Number 3 is probably my favorite comedy of all time. I quote this movie still to this day. I probably watched this movie more as a kid than any other movie. My number 3 is Airplane.
Yeah.
I was close to putting that one on there.
Same.
Man,
Same.
like there's so many lines in the fucking movie that are like amazing, and the acting is amazing, and like, you know, Leslie Nielsen, Robert Hayes, just like deadpan, you know, throughout the thing. His fucking drinking problem, he just keeps throwing shots into his face, and he starts to tell stories, and everybody kills themselves, and then there's like, there's too many like great gags, and it's like the birth of all of those like gag style movies that would follow it, like, you know, all the scary movies and stuff like that, and all the, you know, those kind of comedies that would come after it. Like, it's the birth of it's actually kind of the birth too of using a dramatic actor like that in a comedic role with Leslie Nielsen, to where nobody saw that coming, and it kind of crossed genre, and then everybody did that after that. Like in the next, you know, movie, you had people doing it. You had like Shatner and fucking, you know, they're just, you know, people that were not known for comedy started doing comedy. It's just it has some of the best one-liners of all time.
Oh yeah.
People are putting them all right now into the chat. So yeah, you like gladiator movies? Yeah. My number 2 is The Empire Strikes Back. I can't help it. I'm sorry, Mark. Like, I know that like,
It's okay.
it's, to me, that's a no-brainer for me though, because like that's the ultimate popcorn movie to me. Like, maybe with the only other exception being like Jaws or something like that, but like The Empire Strikes Back is by far my favorite Star Wars movie. Like, if you put all of them together, I don't think that they would be as good as The Empire Strikes Back. So I don't know. I don't know how to. What do you say about that fucking movie that, you know, nobody's already said? So
I don't know. What about you, Mark? Somebody.
I don't think people want my opinion, but you know, it's all subjective.
Well, I mean, you'll be saying something that many people say when he was asking.
I mean, out of the,
I know.
No, but seriously, out of the OG trilogy, that probably is. If I had to pick one, that'd be the best one.
Forced at gunpoint, apparently. Like, Mark would like pick that one. I mean, it ain't no Phantom Menace or anything, but it's one of my favorites. There's no younglings in it. God, those fucking movies. And my number 1 is The Shining. I think The Shining is a movie that, like, it's one of those exceptions to movies where, like, the more you watch it, the better it gets, and the more you watch it, like, the more shit you notice that you never noticed before. And it's so layered of a movie that people are still coming up with conspiracy theories about, like, what it means to this day. So, yeah, I just think it might be in my top 5 horror films of all time. So,
Okay.
it's definitely going to be the top one in 1980.
So I was curious, real quick. What are your thoughts on The Last Shot? The meaning behind it? Because I know that's a lot of conversation.
Well, I kind of tend to go with that theory that somebody had. I don't know if this was ever confirmed or not, but like that his pose in that shot was supposed to represent something like that's in a painting that's biblically, like, or it might be biblical, but it's definitely in a painting of like the devil, with the way that he's holding his hands and things like that. I forget the exact thing that was supposed to mean, but yeah, I mean Kubrick in terms of what the movie itself meant has, in one of the few interviews where he talked about it, has gone on to say that it was like that picture was supposed to symbolize that like all that place does is recycle evil spirits. So like he's really been there forever because it's just recycling like you know those spirits into other forms and things like that. And the picture itself, the way that he's standing is supposed to represent that in some way, that this is like some sort of eternal kind of hell that they're trapped in. But I can't remember the exact painting that they were talking about or anything now.
I'm somewhat disappointed, Uncle Bill, that you didn't put Hussey in your top 5 with Helen Mirren as the prostitute. What's
Did you
going on?
The hell is that movie?
What the?
You guys have never seen that?
No.
Well,
No.
Although that
it's
sounds
one to-
amazing.
It's one to check out.
Yeah,
So funny
Bab-
because like
There we
people
go.
only know like older Helen Mirren, but
Oh.
yeah, back in the day.
No, I'm
she,
sorry, Mark.
didn't look
No,
too bad.
I was too busy with Cheech and Chong to do houses.
Yeah.
I'm only kidding about that though.
So
But
let's
no,
see what
honorable mention. Do you have
my,
one?
my honorable mention would have been The Fog.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's interesting. I mean, that's interesting. None of us said Friday the 13th.
I thought about it,
I'm
and then I
surprised.
was like, man, to me, Friday the 13th is only good when Betsy Palmer gets there. Like, it's not a good movie. It's really not. Like, it in terms of
People
just
don't be pissed
movies.
now.
Well, it's not, man. It's a boring slasher film, to be honest. Like, up until the end, I think.
I'm not complaining. I'm not disagreeing.
I mean, there's a lot of people that will bow down to it and everything because it started that whole genre, really, of modern slasher films.
Mhm.
Some people say it was Halloween. It was really Friday the 13th, though. I mean, Halloween kind of like it came up with the idea, but Friday the 13th created the actual like blueprint for every other slasher film.
Yeah, I mean,
That
it
was-
was the movie that showed that hey, you could rip off Halloween and make money. So everybody else said,
Yeah.
hey, let's do the same thing.
Yeah. So, but objectively, it's just not. And I don't go back and watch that movie a lot. There's another
Yep.
movie on my list that I go back and watch a lot. That's in the Friday the 13th series.
Yeah.
But this is not Friday the 13th. Is not. I go back and watch her scenes because I think that she's really underrated in that movie. But I don't give a shit much about the rest of the movie.
I mean, Mark, you said honorable mentions. I'll admit, Airplane would have been one, or Fade to Black, which I think.
Oh
was
yeah,
1980.
I forgot about Fade to Black.
For me, it would have either. I mean, I want to say Airplane, but either maybe Superman 2 or Raging Bull. I think.
Okay, so Bronson says his favorites are The Shining, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Trick or Treat, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Beetlejuice, and Uncle Buck, going all the way through the 80s there.
Cool.
Some good picks in there.
Yeah, 1985 picks. Oh, here we go. Here's some different ones. My favorite 80s movies are American Gigolo, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Blowout, Vice Squad, Sudden Impact, and Tightrope.
Yeah, Blowout's on my list for 81.
We're getting
Spoiler.
there. We're getting there.
Spoiler.
What about A Clockwork Orange? When the fuck did A Clockwork Orange come out? Did it come out in 80?
No, it was 70s.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Well, that would have been a contender for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, Mark, you tell me of that list. You can't think of what your favorite of that year was in 1980? Come on, you can do it. I believe in you. Do it now.
Oh, jeez. I'll say The Fog.
Okay.
Yeah, if I have to pick one.
You had to. You're gun at
You got to. You
Yeah.
got to. You ain't got no fucking choice now. All right, guys, let's go to 81, I guess. Everybody follow along. If you want to like put in your favorite films of 81 to the chat, feel free to do that. So Matt, what do you got?
So 1981. Well, since Mark wants to go with his honorable mention stuff, I'll just put 2 at number 5. How cheap. My Bloody Valentine and Escape from New York, number 5.
Yes, sir.
Because I didn't want to leave either one out. Escape from New York, I saw later in life. I saw Escape from LA first. I didn't even know that was a sequel until years later. And then Escape from New York, at first I'm like, wow, this is like the same movie, but that's not that movie's fault. So
That's true.
and yeah, the Escape from New York, I love the State Police character. I love what they did on a low budget, making New York look like such a rundown prison. I think as a kid, I was pissed that the cover was not in the movie. I'm like, I thought they were going to fight about the Statue of Liberty. I'm like, where's the scene? But that was just the poster. But yeah, I mean, Isaac Hayes, Donald Pleasance. Yeah, you're the Duke. You're the Duke. You ain't number one. Yeah, Isaac Hayes driving a car with the chandeliers. Whatever.
That's I love that too. That's fucking
Harry Dean Stanton popping up in there.
Yeah.
Ox Baker's in that bitch.
Yeah, bats with nails in it. I love the creativity and the grittiness of it. And then My Bloody Valentine, especially with the uncut version, is one of my favorite slashers. I love the atmosphere of the mines. I don't mind the love story trio because I don't mind those actors. But the gore is great. The look of the killer is fantastic. The music, especially the song at the end, the Ballad of Fairy Warden, is memorable.
Yep.
And that mine is such a perfect setting for a slasher film.
Mm-hmm.
And I said I love the gear the killer has, and I love the kills, especially the uncut version.
Yeah,
which is great. I'll give Street Factory credit for something that they were able to release that and cleaned it up, however that happened. So I may not like them, but I give credit to that at least.
See, I think that's one of the only like releases that's uncut that actually really benefits from being uncut that I've seen. I mean, it really does add something to the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So number 4, I picked Road Games. It's a thriller starring Stacy Keach, pretty much Rear Window on a moving truck. Takes place in Australia. Directed by the same guy who did Psycho 2. And he was definitely a fan of Hitchcock. You could tell by the making of the film. I love the Stacy Keach character. I love the way he's talking to himself. Like he sees a guy with a bunch of basketballs. He's like, that's a man with a lot of balls. I can relate to that, being on long trips and you're just thinking to yourself, so it's relatable. I love the dog he has, which you find out at the end was a dog because it barks when it's not supposed to. And yeah, I love the outback atmosphere, the look of it. Jamie Lee Curtis is very likable. And yeah, I love those Rear Window type of storylines because it's something that I wouldn't say I could relate to, but I put myself in the view of the character and like, am I seeing what he's seeing? How's he going down this situation? And again, it's my favorite Stacy Keach performance, and I thought that the way that was directed was very well done by Richard Franklin. Number 3, I put Outland, my favorite Sean Connery film.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty much High Noon in outer space. I love Outland. The way it's shot, it could be in the alien universe with the way the costumes, the sets, the feel of it. Like, if you told me that was the same universe as Alien, I could believe it. I love the way Peter Hyams directed it. And again, I think Sean Connery, Peter Boyle as the villain is great. I love the suits, the set design, the effects, the music. Outland, I think, is a very underrated film. It's a space western. I think that's a very underrated movie, in my opinion. Number 2, I put Stripes. I think it's hilarious. I love Stripes. And I have a friend who's in the military, and he said that's the most realistic military movie ever. And everything from the beginning, where the lady's giving him crap, and he's like, oh, man, I mean, he's driving with his arms off over his head, to Harold is asking if he's okay, and he just throws the basketball right through the window, and not think of it, to Sergeant Holka,
Yeah.
that actor.
Warren Oates, he's amazing. Yeah.
He is amazing in it. And Harold Ramis, may he rest in peace, is a great back and forth with Bill Murray and John Candy.
John
Another
Candy
guy.
is.
Mm-hmm.
There's what is that fucking line in that movie? I've always loved it too, where he's like, he says something to him like he's trying to be a smart ass to the sergeant. He's like, and we just want to give you like extend a something foot or a hand or something like that, and then he goes, "You don't watch out, I'm gonna shove it up your ass," or something like that. Somebody will know that line, but I always love that line.
He's like a big toe on the foot.
Yeah, that was what it was. And that's what it was, because you're the big toe on the foot of this platoon or something. He's like, I'm gonna shove my big toe up your ass. We got a super chat real quick for Bobby. Would you rather take a 650 light years journey to Beetlejuice the Giant Star and watch the Beetlejuice movie there, or watch Beetlejuice?
Well, you've seen the sequel, so
I'd rather just fucking get shit on for 24 hours straight by a guy named Beetlejuice than I would go watch Beetlejuice again.
I'd rather take the trip because it seems like that trip would be a lot more fun than what movie you saw.
Yeah.
Way you described it. And my number one for 1981 gotta be Raiders of the Lost Ark. I love that film. Raiders of the Lost Ark is my favorite Harrison Ford movie. I'm a sucker for those old school Indiana Jones films with the adventure aspect, finding treasure. I grew up with those films. Firewalker with Chuck Norris, King Solomon's Mines with Richard Chamberlain. I'm a sucker for that. Even the Goonies to extent as that. And again, I love the Indiana Jones character. I love Karen Allen. One of my favorites. She always seems like a sweetheart.
Same, yeah.
Yep.
Whether being yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say Starman. She was outstanding in Starman. Raiders. I mean, she should have done so much more stuff, man. Like, I don't know what the story was there exactly, but like, yeah, she was just naturally a great natural actress.
Yeah, and again, I love the adventure aspect. It's a lot gorier than you would think. People's heads explode, faces melt.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, long story short, my number 5 was My Bloody Valentine and Steve in New York. 4 was Road Games. 3 was Outland. 2 was Stripes. And 1 is Raiders of the Lost Ark. I mean, what more can I say? It's Indiana Jones, and to me, I would say my favorite Spielberg movie. I would say that.
Okay.
I mean, I love Jaws, but if I had to pick, probably Raiders, just for the adventure aspect.
I'll go ahead and tell you that you had a couple that are on my list.
Yeah, same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Honorable mention?
God, I gotta look up films of 81.
Well, you gave me 2 for 5, though, didn't you? Yeah, so that was on.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'll go with that. Heavy metal as well. I'll say heavy metal. I love that.
Okay.
John Candy in that, sure.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Mark?
Well,
Rank 'em.
No.
I don't care.
Escape from New York, which you already mentioned. Love Kurt Russell. One of my favorite actors. Carpenter as well. One of my favorite directors, not just horror. That's out of any genre. He's easily one of my favorites. Raiders, like you said, is incredible. Probably my favorite Harrison Ford as well. Blowout, which was in the chat but not on your list. I'll talk about that one. So that, like, you guys have seen that movie, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Of course.
Like that final shot where they do like the 360 with the camera and the fireworks. When I saw that, I was like, I love this movie.
Yeah, it's got to be one of the best shots ever, man. I completely agree with that. Yeah,
Travolta is I don't want to say it's a shame, but I kind of have to be honest. I mean, I wish he was still doing stuff like that now. Like, his stuff back then, I mean, man, he was on top of his game. He really was. But yeah, of course, Lithgow, great performances all around. Love it. Um, you said My Bloody Valentine, obviously.
Mhm.
Let's see, what else do I have on here? Evil Dead.
Oh yeah, I mean, I keep
Um,
forgetting that was 81. I
Mhm.
keep confusing with 83 for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean, that movie, it changed things like in the way that you do low budget horror. Um, most definitely shaped Raimi's career going forward. That was his big ticket, really. Even though everybody, I guess, prefers these days Evil Dead 2, but I always like the first one more. I don't mind the comedy in the second one. I like it. It works. I think where I draw the line a little bit is with Army of Darkness. That's a little bit too over the line into comedy and not enough horror, at least for me. But yeah, the first one, I love those effects. Even the stop motion, it's amazing. Love how well, I guess you could say the lack of lighting because it was so cheaply made, but that only adds to the atmosphere. Obviously, the camera work was very, very new for its time, despite how primitive it was, like them pulling it all off with just putting the camera on like a stick and like running through the
Oh,
woods.
well, yeah, like somebody said about that movie too. It's like it's almost like you're watching somebody figure out how to make a film. Like, and they get better as like the film goes on. Like it just,
Hmm.
it's like just trying to figure out how to do stuff in a movie with no kind of budget or crew or anything like that. And that's what makes it so great. Is everything's completely like original about what they end up doing.
Yeah, and was that 5? I should have separated my list. I have so many movies.
Why are
Obviously,
you
you guys can
asking
see
me?
that's
It's your
more than
list.
5.
Yeah.
Well, because I have them all bunched together and I'm like reading through, but I'm not keeping track of where
That's
I
why I
am.
should have ranked them, Mark. God damn it. Let's see. You
So it's
said
Rank
New
your
York,
shit.
Evil Dead, Raiders,
you didn't
Blowout,
say
My
Raiders.
Blood. I did say Raiders.
Oh, okay, I missed it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, I
You
said
said-
favorite Harrison Ford.
Okay.
Yeah. And then My Bloody Valentine. So honorable mention would be either Road Warrior, or
Hmm.
Debbie Does Dallas.
no, definitely not. That's a good one though. Maybe The Beyond. Love The Beyond.
Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, that's
I
awesome.
think
Raiders, Back to the Future, Rocky 4, Rambo 2, Commando, Ghostbusters, and Scarface. Man, Gabo, that's a hell of a list. I'll just say that.
That it is.
you saw my list.
He did. So mine too.
Awesome, man.
I think we're gonna see a lot of those coming up.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I'll go ahead and give my honorable mention, I guess. Mark, did you finish yours before I?
Yeah.
Okay. My honorable mention will be Friday 2. I think that's like
Okay.
probably, well, not probably. It's my second favorite Friday the 13th movie. And it's one that I think is probably like one of the best actual like slasher films. It's not really trying to be goofy or anything like that of any slasher film. So Friday 2 would be my honorable mention. It's also got a campfire scene in the beginning, which is fucking, I love any movie that starts off with like a campfire scene like that. My number 5 though is Nighthawks. And I'll tell you why right now, because like it has the best ending of possibly any action film that I've ever seen. I love that ending. Rutger Hauer's insanely good in that movie. Stallone's good in that movie. Like they're the perfect counterbalance to each other. The scene on the big, what are those things called? That's on the high wire, or the shit where he takes all the hostage and stuff on the
Oh yeah,
tram thing,
the cable car.
cable car. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
that's just an amazing scene. Like all in all, like Rutger Hauer in that scene, and just through the whole film, man. Like he's just. It's really the first film where like I don't know how early on that was in his career. I guess had he done Blade Runner by that point, or does Blade Runner come after?
Blade Runner's 82.
Yeah, it's 82.
Okay. So like this is really early on, but like that was the film where I was like, okay, like that guy is something to watch. Like
Mhm.
Rutger Hauer, like it just like throughout it, like he's the one that captures your attention more so than even like Stallone. And like I said, like it's got probably my favorite ending of any action film. Just for like when I first saw it, I 100% didn't see it coming. Like, and then now it's like hilarious to watch, but like it's just fucking killer. That's all I'll say about the ending. My number 4 is Stripes. It's again like one of my favorite comedies. Like you said, the cast in it alone. I mean, you got Bill Murray, Ramus, John Candy, PJ Souls, fucking
Sean Young.
Sean Young, yeah, and Warren Oates, and who's John Larroquette. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, he just goes on and on and on. Like, how many
Judge
people?
Reinhold.
Judge Reinhold, yeah. Like, and it's really Murray that makes that movie, though. I mean, he's like just insanely good and probably improvised a lot of that stuff, on the spot, I would say. But the whole scene where they're, learning the march and everything that they'll do the next day and all that, and then that whole thing is amazing. Where they go to Germany or wherever, that whole like sequence is amazing. Yeah, there's nothing not to like about that movie. Escape from New York is my number 3. It's like Carpenter's logical extension of Assault on Precinct 13. Like it's like a bigger budget version of that film to me. That's kind of what it always reminded me of. And he just perfected everything that he was like going for in that movie with Escape. And Kurt Russell's outstanding.
Yes.
In it. I mean, he is just like at the top of his game. There might be one other Carpenter film where he's better, but actually there might be. Yeah, there is. I don't know. Is Jack
Trouble
Burton,
in Little China?
is just Gary say is Burton better? He might be. Like Jack Burton might be better. I don't know, but we'll see.
Love that movie too, but
Yeah.
again,
My number 2 is Evil Dead. Of course. Like I said, like man, it really doesn't get better than that. Like they created a whole new kind of like subgenre of film, and they clearly didn't know what the fuck they were doing or didn't really have a budget, but they created things that would go on to be like duplicated a million times in horror films, just by sheer like will and ingenuity. Made like one of the best horror films of all time.
mm-hmm.
And you're right. There is something about that movie because like, I've long said like, Evil Dead 2 is a better movie, but it's not a more innovative movie. Like that movie, The Evil Dead just started a whole other thing. It's like fucking Night of the Living Dead or something. Like they just created their own kind of subgenres of movies. And the scene that always like sticks out to me about that for some reason is the card scene where she's like looking at the cards and her friend, I can't remember which one it is. That's like guessing, or she knows what
Ace
the
of
cards
Spades.
are. Yeah.
3 of
Yeah.
Hearts.
And that's like the first time that you really understand that like something fucked up is going on and that she's possessed, and you don't see her either. That's the awesome part about that.
Yeah.
Like you just hear her calling off the cards and like they're going through the cards. It's Ellen Sandweiss. That's who I was trying to think of. It's her that's calling out the cards. And then like everybody like turns around and she's floating and shit in the air. And like it's just the perfect introduction to the idea of what's going on in the movie. So yeah, that being said, like The Evil Dead comes at number 2 for 81. But my number 1 is another one that's already been mentioned for a lot of the reasons that Mark already mentioned. My number 1 is Blowout. I think it's from beginning to end a pretty perfect movie. The performances, Travolta and Nancy Allen are. I didn't even really recognize Nancy Allen in that. Like she does such a good job of playing that role and like that accent and just being a ditzy kind of like prostitute that you don't even really like know it's her. And then Travolta is like insanely good from the beginning where he's like watching the horror film. By the way, the movie starts off with like a fake horror film, which is fucking great.
Yeah, it's like a fake slasher for like
it's the Palma's like version of a slasher film, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
And the way that it ends too with him just like, not to give it away or anything, but like them reusing that sound and him just having to sit there and like deal with that and kind of the look on his face and everything when he's doing that. It's a classic film to me. I think it's still an incredibly fucking underrated movie. But that's it for 81 for me.
Okay. No honorable mention, or did you give it already?
I did. It would have been Nighthawks.
Nighthawks. Okay.
No, wait. Friday 2. Sorry.
Friday 2. Right. Okay.
Yeah. So real quick, let me see what the chat's got. If anybody's got anything for 81. The mayor says Road Warrior, The Beyond, Evil Dead, Madman, and Scanners. Wow, I didn't even think about Scanners. Honorable mentions, The Howling. That's a good list.
It's a very good list, yeah. It's good movies.
Satan's Child says Escape from New York, Friday 2, Evil Dead, Death Hunt, and The Howling.
Okay.
What is Death Hunt? That's one that I haven't.
Charles Bronson and Lee Marvin, I think is in that.
I've not seen that one. This is one I thought somebody might pick.
It's it's on here. I just we could only do 5, and I'm already doing 2 honorable mentions, technically. So yeah.
Oh, thank you, Hopium, for the super chat.
I'm getting there. I'm just way up in the chat right now.
No, this is fine.
Chaz says The Road Warrior, Cheech and Chong's Nice Dreams, Escape from New York, Halloween 2, and Nighthawks.
There you go.
Good
Nighthawks.
Let's see. And I know Adam Beck had one for 81 up here. And I'm way up the chat now, I think, too. Where the fuck was that? Must have missed it.
So, Mark, have you seen Road Games or Outland? Have you seen either of those?
Yes. I actually have Road Games, the old DVD. I've never upgraded it, but I will. I love the line from Stacy Keach where he's talking about like, what does he say? Like the guy's driving around and like cutting the skin off and making them into like fish sticks or something like that. What does he say?
Like, something like that.
Yeah. And then Outland, yes, I've seen as well. Don't own that one though, but again, that's one that I probably overlooked or forgot about.
Well, here's one that I completely forgot about that I actually love. It's not the one you're probably thinking of either. I mean, I love a lot of films on that list, but Shock Treatment, the sequel to Rocky Horror That Bombed, I actually really fucking like that movie. It doesn't have as good of a soundtrack or anything like that. It's not as good as a movie, honestly. But like the subtext about what that movie is dealing with is pretty fucking advanced for 1981. There's a lot of stuff going on in that movie. That's kind of underline it, and it does have some decent songs in it too.
Yeah,
but it got completely shit on because it wasn't, Rocky Horror.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm trying to keep up with all the 81s, but I can't. So we're gonna go to 82, I guess. Let me get back down here to where I can.
Well, Claire, I just want to say thank you, Hopium, for the super chat. I know there's nothing with it. Yeah, there's a Minecraft trailer. Jason Mamma Mia in drag. I don't know why. Fuck that movie. It's a Minecraft movie. He's wearing a dress and Jack Black is in it. So fuck all of it. I hope it bombs.
Yeah, we could do a whole show on how shitty that looks for sure.
To be short, it sucks. But 1982, I guess I'll go first at number 5.
Yeah, I'm still catching up with 81, so we'll just do
Yeah,
that while you're doing 82.
Oh, we could go to the chat first for 1981. Don't bother me. I'm surprised Mad Men was on your list. I know you and CK really talk about Mad Men a lot.
I love Mad Men, but I'm not like him. Like he's like fucking,
Okay.
I think it's a great movie, but it would
You
not
wouldn't
be
buy
on
the
my top.
You would buy the book.
No, I wouldn't buy the book, and I didn't buy the book. Dead and Buried's a good one though. That's an exceptionally well-made film that nobody ever talks about.
Yeah,
for a horror film nowadays.
American Werewolf, I was surprised wasn't on anybody's list.
Was on your list, Mark.
It was.
Yeah,
It's on the list. It's just this was so difficult. Like Uncle Bill is as hard as you probably think it was to make all these lists. It's even harder for
when
me.
he said it would be more John Landis. I thought it'd be on his list when you mentioned John Landis.
Well, I mean, I'll give you an idea of the other films that I have for 81 that I didn't even like put on there was like Porky's, which
I had that on here.
Neighbors, which is like a crazy dark comedy that I think is incredibly underrated, even though it kind of like it's all over the place. It kind of fell apart in production, but like especially because of Belushi. But I fucking love the tone of that movie. I didn't even mention Raiders. It wasn't even on my list. But like, I mean, I love that movie. And Arthur. I don't know how many people even seen fucking Arthur, but like that's the epitome of drunk British humor right there. So yeah, that was just 81. That shit that I didn't even get to mention. So, but now we're on to 82. Oh shit, no, we're not. We got a super chat. Sean says, War Games, Blues Brothers, Poltergeist, Castle in the Sky, Rain Man. There's 88, Akira, The Bear, Airplane, Ferris Bueller's, Sharky's Machine, Never Say Never Again, Indiana Jones, and Last Crusade. Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there.
We're on our way.
It's sad. We're looking at all these movies and look at this decade in comparison.
I know. I was thinking that when I was going through like just like the movies from 1984. I was like, Jesus Christ. And you look at the movies for like last year, and you're like, this is the saddest shit ever now.
That's sad.
Yep.
And thank you, Sean, for that.
So, okay. Go for it.
82. Well, I guess I'll put since we're doing honorable mention stuff too, I'll just put 2 at number 5 like I did 81.
Okay.
So number 5, I put Sound Rage. Love Chuck Norris.
Yep.
Love that I got to be part of a horror film. Kind of a slasher in a way. Kind of like if Michael Myers fought Chuck Norris. I'm a suck for that.
Yeah, it's got a lot of heavy slasher elements, yeah.
That's during the era of his short mustache without the beard.
Yep.
And I just, from the opening, I love the music in the opening. I like the guy who plays the killer. I think that it has a good opening incident to really start things on a good creepy note. And it's to have the Frankenstein story, experiment gone wrong, and Chuck Norris has to kick everybody's ass in a bar, which I'm down for, and he's got to go kick some ass and take some names.
Wonder how many times he's kicked somebody's ass in a bar in a movie. I bet Chuck Norris had some sort of record for that.
It's gotta be. Just Firewalker, he did it. What was it? Code of Silence, he did. He did like every other movie. I don't step on toes. I step on necks. And then the other film I put, just because it's an underdog movie for me, I always put Murder by Phone, just because I always bring that movie up. And it's not on. It's only on VHS, but any movie that's as crazy as you pick up a phone and it makes your eyes bleed and you explode. Kind of a sucker for that kind of movie.
You gotta love that, yeah.
And I like Richard Chamberlain and John Houseman from The Fog. He's in that as well.
Great actor.
And in a way, it's a slasher, just a very weird, creative one.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4, I put Class of 1984.
That's
a great
film. Yeah.
Love it. It's on my top 5, of course.
Yeah, I love the lead actor. I think the young Michael J. Fox is in it. I believe.
Yes.
Yeah. I love the Alice Cooper song, "We Are the Future."
Mhm.
And yeah, just a great. I mean, it told the elements of what you see in the future, where schools would get a lot more rowdy, a lot more destructive, and I'm sure at the time people thought it was such a fantasy, but now you watch it and it
Yeah.
doesn't seem that fantastical nowadays, which is sad but true. But it works as an exploitation film. I like the guy who plays the villain. I like how smart he was. Like when he's in the bathroom and instead of fighting, he beats himself up and then blames it on the teacher.
Mhm.
I thought scenes like that was very clever. But at the same time, there's some good violence at the end. He's cutting people's arms off and sawing them off and doing stuff like that. So it gives you that satisfying thrill. So
The
yeah,
the kid who snorts all the angel dust or whatever and climbs like the flagpole.
yeah,
That's the best.
yeah.
Yep.
So that's my number 4. Number 3, I put Rocky 3. Mr. T, pity fool.
Hey,
I had the
Balboa.
ti-
Balboa.
I thought that was going to be your number one, honestly.
Woman. He does that shit where he goes. That's my favorite part of that movie, by the way. It's really like, hey, you couldn't have me to show you to be with a real man.
But yeah, I mean, I'm a big Rocky fan. I'm a big Stallone fan. And Rocky 3, I just from the training sequences to the idea of Carl Weathers helping him to Mr. T being such a great villain, and the soundtrack, like Eye of the Tiger, of course, to me, just a classic in that type of genre. Number 2 would be First Blood. God, I mean,
I kind of figured that it would be like
Mhm.
really high on the list. Yeah.
yeah, it made sense with the Rambo things. But I mean, I just love the simplicity of it. Brian Dennehy. I love the location in I forget where they shot it at, but I love the woods, the way they shot it. Uh, Great stunt work. The fall off the cliff, Stallone like going through all the branches and breaking his ribs in real life, and
Mhm.
like Brandon Denny was a good villain. Just, I mean, First Blood really nailed what. Yeah, no, Rambo being on Rambo's list. I know. But I mean, First Blood has it all. And number 1, John Carpenter's The Thing.
Of course. I think
Yep.
that's on all 3 of our lists.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
I had to put John Carpenter's The Thing. It just, I mean, what more can be said? Not just the effects, which are fantastic, but the atmosphere, the dread, the paranoia, the
Mhm.
direction, the cast, and
It's
Morricone's score.
yeah, it's got everything. I mean, even when you look at like all aspects of fear, like you were mentioning, paranoia and stuff like that, the atmosphere, everything. It's got everything. It's amazing.
How did each of you first see that film?
VHS for me.
Okay, same here.
I mean, I can't remember the first time I saw that movie. It's almost like it's always been there, like the fucking Overlook Hotel or something. Like it's always been a part of my life somehow or another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just no, I'm serious. Like I can't remember, but I just remember like always just seeing it or just knowing of it.
Yeah, I remember the VHS I got. It was a store that's no longer around called On Q, and I didn't know anything about it because the cover doesn't show anything, and the back just shows a picture of Kurt Russell. So I didn't know what it was in for, and every time an effects happened, I would rewind the videotape like 3 times and go, because it's like you see effects, and this was just out there, like to the
Mhm.
10th power, and it just like
I still
nice.
think it might be. It might no, I don't think it might. I think, in my opinion, it's still the greatest effects movie. It's the greatest practical effects movie
Yeah,
to me, still to this day. Which is crazy if you think about it. It's 40. How old is it now? 42 years old.
Mhm.
So it's like it's never really been topped. Like if there's anything
No.
even close to me, it would be Day of the Dead. And
Mhm.
but I still think it's better. I don't think it's ever been topped.
no,
I would agree.
I mean, yeah, I had to put John Carpenter as number 1.
Yeah, it's all genre. A lot of people are asking that. Yeah, this is not just horror films. This is all genre films from each one of these years.
Yeah,
Mhm.
All films in general.
Yeah, I thought it'd be more interesting if we just did all genres.
yeah,
I mean, because horror wise, I mean, it might be one or two differences, but like, I mean, come on, like, there's so many. Like when I was doing the lists, you get to 1981, there's probably like, I swear, like at least 95%, like everything's a fucking slasher movie
Yes,
of some sort.
it is.
Like,
Yeah, I was
it's-
reading that and I was like, "This you could just tell Friday the 13th just came out because like the whole fucking thing."
every
Slashers.
cover, it's a guy with a fucking knife or like
Yep.
an axe or some shit. So
So Sean says underrated ones include Continental Divide. That is actually pretty good. That's a Belushi one, I think.
Yep, Belushi.
Outland, my favorite year. Death Trap, Sure Thing, the most 80th 80s movie. Yeah, that's a Jeff Daniels movie, I think. Amazon Women on the Moon.
Oh, that's John Cusack.
Oh,
Sure
John
Thing.
Cusack. Sorry, that's what did I say. Fucking Jeff Daniels.
Jeff Daniels. Yeah.
That was a True Believer, The Snowman, which I haven't heard of that one. Easy Money, and Mask. Not Jim Carrey's Mask, of course,
No.
but
and Cher.
Mask is in Eric Stoltz. Yeah.
How about you, Mark?
Okay. I'll start with honorable mentions, and I did rank these while you guys were talking, so I am participating at least at this point. Honorable mentions, I have two. One would be Tenebrae, which is, I might have to say, is my favorite Argento movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was looking at, I think it was 1980, yeah, and I saw Inferno, and I'm like, I never fucking watch Inferno. I hate the ending. The visuals
Yeah.
are nice, but
I think the beginning though is my favorite scene from any Argento movie.
oh,
I really do.
the underwater thing.
Underwater sequence, yeah.
Yeah,
But the rest of the movie is so uneven; it's hard to pull for that movie.
yeah. But yeah, I mean that amazing crane shot when like he pulls back and like it's going over the house and everything. All the twists and turns with the plot. Easily one of my favorite Argento, probably my favorite. Other honorable mention would be Blade Runner. Again, Rutger Hauer is the man. Like more Harrison Ford. Just great stuff. Love the story. Just great stuff all around. But let me get to my top five. So number 5, I was questioning a lot because I only recently have gotten more of an appreciation for this one because of the re-release that Scream Factory did. And it's Friday the 13th Part 3. The 3D effects in that, and that's the only way I watch it now. I only watch it in 3D now. The 3D effects are so fun. It gives the movie a different like feel. I love the depth of field when you do watch it in 3D. So predominantly why I do love it as much as I do now is because of the effects. I mean, makeup effects are fine too, but mostly the 3D effects. The characters are also really fun. Of course, you get to see Jason in the hockey mask for the first time.
Of course.
That kind of stuff. Yeah.
Well, I could do a Dated Kimmel, but it's not that great.
Is what?
Dated Kimmel, I don't think is that great.
Oh,
The
yeah.
lead.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
At least in my opinion.
No, I mean, it's definitely one of the weaker leads. I'll agree with that. Number 4, Death Wish 2. That's probably my second favorite, if not my favorite Death Wish movie. I love that one. It's so much darker than the other ones. I think the first one has a really good atmosphere and a dark tone too, a little bit, but nowhere near as. I think the second film they just wanted to try to top the insanity of the first one, so they just up the grape scenes, up the violence, up all the bloodshed.
Yeah.
And it's not as playful as the third movie. I do like Death Wish 3. It's fun, but Death Wish 2 for me is like it's got that perfect balance of what I like. Obviously Bronson's the man. Fishburne in the fucking glasses is hilarious. Could watch that all day.
Perfect balance of grape.
Yeah.
It's the greatest film ever.
Yeah. Number 3 would be Creepshow.
Yep. Of course.
I mean, what more can you say? The effects, Just all around cool stories. I'm a big anthology movie person. Like that's one of my favorite subgenres that I think is very dead at this point. Like it
Yep.
never I mean we get the VHS movies, but I mean, come on, like those are so cheaply made and like they don't live up to like the original stuff, especially like from this time period. Love Creepshow 2 as well. But yeah, the first one, I think that was probably one of the first anthology movies I saw. That one and the Twilight Zone movie.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain Creepshow was the first anthology movie I ever saw.
Nice. Yeah.
And it may still be the best.
Yeah,
Think about it.
I mean, it's a hell of a contender. I mean,
Yep.
it'll definitely be in a top 5 list of best anthology movies, I think.
Yeah.
So number 2, Class of 1984. One of my absolute favorites. Could watch it all day. Rambo, you pretty much said all the best stuff about it.
Oh,
And I agree 100% with everything you mentioned. I'm a big Mark Lester fan. I like pretty much everything he's made, even Firestarter. I know some people don't like that one, but I love Firestarter. Got George C. Scott in that one too. And then The Thing is number 1. I mean, that's got to be number 1 on everybody's list. So
It is.
yeah.
I mean, it just is.
Yeah, it's incredible. We could all jack off over that one all day. So I'll let you go, UB.
Well, I got a couple super chats I want to get to before we go. So Gabbo says, "Will there be a stream for 86, 89?" Yes. 90 to 95, I have no idea, but we definitely know 86 to 89 is coming. So
oh yeah.
We might as well.
Yeah, we might as
So-
well just fucking finish it out.
Yeah.
With all the jacking off Mark's doing.
Jerk off all over ourselves on this. Would be cool if you guys, Pred says it'd be cool if you guys did a fave 80s horror creature designs. That's actually a really good idea.
Cool idea.
Top
Yeah.
10. Yep.
Very cool. A lot of good stuff in the 80s.
Yes, very good, very good, very nice, very evil. Okay. 82. Mine's a little bit different, actually. Actually, I think mine is completely different than your
Cool.
guys, except number 1. So we'll see how this goes. This is gonna fuck with y'all, but this
Okay.
is just how it is for me. I'm sorry. So
Sure.
my favorite or my honorable mention is Creepshow. I
Okay.
know that's it should be in the top 5 or whatever. But when I look at like this list, and like if look at stuff that I watch now, like we were saying earlier, like this is Creepshow is going to be in the honorable mention category. So my number 5 is Basket Case.
Okay.
Okay.
So Henenlotter is a guy that I have loved his career just basically all the way through until you get to Bad Biology, I think. And Basket Case was a movie that may have been the first horror movie that I ever saw aside from something like Night of the Living Dead or something like that, on cable or public access or something. So it's a film that I've got a long history with, but it's also a film that I went back and watched again recently and was like, it kind of reminded me of Evil Dead. Like, it's like you got no budget, you got to do everything practically, but it's a great idea and like a great kind of like execution of that idea. So I don't know. And it's so fucking, it's goofy, but it's also dead serious at the same time. And it actually like has some good gore effects in it for what they were doing.
Yeah, the atmosphere is really good. The New York, kind of all the characters,
Yeah.
like the hooker and the owner of the hotel, they're all such interesting characters to themselves.
Yep. I just think that it pretty much, like you said, encapsulates like a really cool period of time there as well. My number 4, Mark already brought up, I think it was his honorable mention, is Tenebrae. It is possibly my favorite Argento movie. It's definitely in the running for one of my favorites. I think it's the perfect combination of like a giallo, a slasher film, and like some of the mysterious kind of element shit that he would do later, in his career with like Phenomenon and stuff like that. It's like a really good mix of all those things. Super bloody, super violent
Mhm.
film, but also a really good like mystery film as well.
Yes.
So and for a couple scenes in particular, I mean, there's just that it has classic like horror film scenes that people still reference to this day and still rip off to this day. With the chick that gets her arm cut off, the slash down the piece of clothing and it reveals her face and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like it's just the camera work in that. Like Argento was never known for his scripts or his dialogue or anything like that. But it's his visual stuff. Like it's cinematography and everything like that that makes those movies. So yeah,
Is that your favorite Argento? Would you say?
That's hard for me to say. I was saying like, but it's like in my top. It's a contender for it. Like
Okay.
Deep Red might be my absolute favorite, but I go back and forth between like a bunch of his movies. Like is my favorite. So
Yeah. Love Deep
I don't
Red.
know. Yeah. My number 3 is 48 Hours.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I think it's the best buddy cop movie ever made. I think it may have set the template for buddy cop movies, as a matter of fact. Like that would go on, even though they're not cops. But I mean, for all intents and purposes, they kind of are in that movie. But it's like the movie that made Eddie Murphy. Like it's the movie that like put him on the map in terms of like people knowing who he was and things like that.
Mhm.
Okay, fuck it. 40 Hours is going on my list too. I forgot
shit.
about that.
He's changing his fucking list.
That's number 4.
I was gonna
number
say
4
like
now.
that's totally fine if anybody wants to
I
switch
forgot.
and put something on the list if they forgot a movie. That's cool too.
40
Yeah.
Hours on my list. So
Yeah.
that's 4, Rocky 3, First Blood 2, Thing 1, 4. I agree with 40 Hours. Go on. I can't believe I forgot that shit.
Gabo says, do it better than Lethal Weapon and Rush Hour. 100% yes. I think it's better than both those movies. I love Lethal Weapon. I'm kind of on the fence. I'm okay with Rush Hour, but it's not 48. 48 Hours is almost like an exploitation film. Like it's so,
Especially with the dialogue.
I can see that.
yeah, it's so un-PC and just fucking out there. Like for that, even for that time period, really, but especially for now. And the dynamic between Nick Nolte just being a super racist alcoholic cop and Eddie Murphy like just being like a badass that just won't accept any of his shit, and like that fight sequence is great. The fight sequence that they have in that movie is up there with like the They Live fight sequence for me in terms of like great, you know.
How do you feel about the sequel though?
I fucking hate that sequel, man. I'll be honest with you. Like, but the ending of it I like. I like the ending of it for some reason. I like the reveal and all that too. But I just didn't, because I just think it's because I like this movie so much and grew up with it as a kid and watched it a million times. And it's got Sonny Landham in it, man. I mean, what do you, you know, it's got fucking Sonny. It's like one of the few movies that has Sonny Landham in it.
It's so funny you mentioned him. A video popped up in my feed. It's like a Dead Pit video from like 15 years ago where CK was jerking off to Sonny Landham versus Ass. Do you remember that?
I do remember that. Yeah. Sonny Landham versus Ass was a classic. James Remar, by the way, is amazing as the heel in that movie too.
Dan's character name.
Just the way that he delivers a lot of the dialogue in that movie and just how he literally seems to come across as really crazy is outstanding. I forget, there's a line of dialogue, you probably know this, Rima, where he's like, they say something to him like, I'll tell you what I think, or something like that. And he goes, I don't give a fuck what you think, or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's just the way that he delivers it too that's amazing.
Or he's then like trying to sleep, and he's like, Chad, tell me a story. Fuck you. Well, that's one of my favorites. I love that movie. It's classic.
And my number 2, and I can't believe, I don't think anybody's mentioned this yet. Or I don't think you guys either one mentioned, but Conan the Barbarian. Did anybody mention that yet?
No, I love Conan.
Yeah.
That's my number 2. Change your fucking list, Matt. Come on.
First Blood, Rocky 3 is staying on there.
All
Goddamn it. I'm a Stallone fan, so I gotta represent Sly. You got Arnold,
All right.
and Mark's
So,
got Tenebrae.
so Conan the Barbarian to me has the greatest score that fits a movie ever. Like whenever I hear that score, I want to sack a village. Like that is the immediate like feeling that I have. It's the perfect fucking score like for that movie. It sets everything up for the action sequences. It's got some of the best action sequences too. And just the fact that they don't let Arnold talk in it except a couple of lines that are now classic. But like the fact that he basically is just like an action star in it is what makes it like work too. And to be honest, somehow or another, James Earl Jones works as like the villain. He shouldn't. Like he shouldn't work like in that get up with that hair and shit as like the lead villain against like Arnold, which is ridiculous when you look at the two of them. But like the fact he turns into a fucking python works.
Yeah.
And like
Who could forget that scene?
and the chick, like the whole side cast is great in it. Who's the chick? Sandra, what was her name? I can't remember her actual name, but like she's great in it. And everybody in that movie is
Bergman, Sandra
Bergman. Yeah. So yeah, Bergman.
Oh, Sandal,
Bergman. Yeah, whatever.
Sandals.
Sandals Bergman. But yeah, man, like it's just one of those movies where when I got the Arrow 4K and watched it again, I was like, this is like it's almost a perfect film. Like for that style of what they were going for, I don't think you'll ever see that really topped what they were doing. And then of course my number 1 is The Thing. Like we all know this. Like
Of course.
there can only be one.
Only one.
Yeah. But yeah, 1982 was a hell of a year.
Oh yeah.
First Blood, I love First Blood. I don't know why I didn't put that in there, but for some reason, I don't know. I didn't latch on to First Blood as much as I did some of the others.
Right.
Well, especially the other later like Stallone films too.
I'm not gonna be like, you fucking asshole, you fucking dickhead.
Well, you should. You should.
Now.
You should.
Someone will though.
Somebody.
That's how YouTube is.
They'll do that for you.
They'll do it for me. Jesus.
Neopunk says 48 Hours, Rocky 3, Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I almost put that on there too.
Me too.
Blade Runner and The Road Warrior. Road Warrior is another one that I thought about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Justin Marino says The Thing, Tenebrae, New York Ripper is another great one. Creep Show and Pieces. I thought about Pieces too.
Those two almost made the list, especially New York Ripper. I love the sleeves in that one.
That movie is one of the, you talk about violent and just nonstop sex and violence throughout the whole thing. That's all it is.
I fucking hate that movie.
I know. Yeah. You don't like the voice?
You don't like Donald Duck.
Did they ever explain why they chose that voice? A Donald Duck voice for the killer?
They probably did, but
I think it's like something to do with like the son or something. I know there's like
the son.
Yeah, like his son. Like Dirk's in here. Help me out, Dirk.
He loved Donald Duck cartoons. Maybe.
I
mean, Donald Duck was violent. Maybe he's like, if he was real, he'd be a serial killer.
Oh, he says it's the daughter. That's what Dirk says. Okay,
so
the daughter.
The daughter was a Donald Duck killer.
I do love that movie though, for the fact that it is so violent, so gory, and so fucking trashy. Like it's a trashy movie. to try to watch now. Yeah, you can't really watch it now, man. I'm pretty sure you get canceled just for watching that fucking movie.
That was Dirk's number one. I don't know
If
you
you
saw his
if you turn that movie on right now, somebody will come to your house and just like throw you in jail. Yeah, you can only watch it under a blanket in your bed.
That's a good first date movie.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh God.
Okay, so I think we're caught up with the chat for 82.
Oh yeah, Halloween
80
3, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
As we get to 83 though, this is where it gets progressively harder for me. Like
Mm.
there's so many more movies like from like this point on that I added to the list. There's like 20 movies in each one of these like from now on. So I really had to whittle these down. I don't know about you all.
Well,
I just
yeah.
put like 10 or 15 on here. I mean, for my like 1982, it's like all that. So
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Well, let's see. Now I know why I fucked up because on my list I put 48 hours in 1983 because I can't read.
no.
So that's why I can't read years apparently. But okay, number 5 for me would be Blue Thunder. I love Blue Thunder. It's a John Badham film with Roy
Mhm.
Scheider, Malcolm McDowell. I think that's a very good action film. It was ahead of its time about drone warfare and surveillance and all that stuff. I really like John Badham, who had done Saturday Night Fever. He would go on to do War Games, which is the same year as this.
Yep.
Short Circuit, many other films. The Hard Way. I think the helicopter sequences in that, with they're going in and out of the entire city, like you can't do that today. Now that would all be CGI. Yeah, everything in between. I think that's a very stellar action film. So yeah, absolutely love Blue Thunder. And I love Roy Scheider. I miss the guy. He's ever since the first time in Jaws, I've always been a big fan of the actor. I love the quirk of his character where he's always on edge, so he's always timing himself, even at the beginning where he's timing how fast he can get out of the garage and all this stuff. So he's at Daniel Stern. He's good as well as the sidekick character. So that's definitely on my list. Number 4, I put Of Unknown Origin. That is a Peter Weller film that a lot of people will know.
Yep.
Directed by George Cosmatos before he did Rambo 2 and Cobra and Tombstone. Yeah. What I love about that is I didn't know what that film was. I found it on VHS tape, and the way the trailer looked like it was going to be like a haunted house film, but it's really a Moby Dick story about a guy played by Peter Weller who is always about his property. He's got this big appointment coming up, and his family's away. And there's this problem with this rat. And it starts off simple, and it just ratchets up so much. And he gets crazier and crazier and crazier. And it really becomes this Moby Dick where at first at the beginning he cares about his property, but now by the end he's literally geared up. He's got a bat with like these massive things on it. And you just see the progression, how it just everything. Like he gets a cat. Next he finds the cat is dead, hanging in the blood, dripping in his milk.
Yeah.
He put a check, and somehow the rat came in and stretched up the check. You have really good point of view shots where you're inside the walls and inside all this really intricate camera work. And like he's just tearing up his whole place with this bat from hell, just swinging everything and crashing everything.
It floods his basement too.
Yeah. And for such a simple idea, it's like they got a lot out of mostly one location. Yes. And Peter Weller is usually just, one type of acting. He showed much more range in that. And I thought that was really a nice taste of paranoia and just obsession, like the Moby Dick variety. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it. And since for some reason, I thought 40 Hours was number 3, I'm trying to think what else. 1983. God, I'm trying to think now what else came out in 83.
I can tell you, there's a bunch of them on here.
There's one I know for sure would be on your list.
Well, okay, I'll do this. Like Blue Thunder would be 4. Unknown Origin would be number 3. Number 5, I'll put DC Cab. I love DC Cab.
That's a hot take right there.
Wow.
That is a hot fucking take. It's a
I
great
tell-
movie, though.
I do. Gary Busey, like everybody's insane in that movie. The Barbarian Brothers.
Yep.
Mr. T. That spelled Bruce Lade. I told you got to go back to school. The Gary Busey's like, oh, Bruce Lee, he's frozen until the economy gets better. It's just this weird avenues of dialogue, and directed by the same guy that would direct Falling Down and Joe Schumacher.
Mhm.
You know, early work from him. So, film I liked ever since I was a kid. So I always liked DC Cab. So I think it's a fun. Really, the cast is the cast for me that really makes that film. So 5 DC Cab, 4 Blue Thunder, 3 of Unknown Origin, 2 Starface. Gotta go with Starface.
You
Yes,
know,
it's a-
Frank,
Yeah,
you're a fucking cockroach. Yeah.
you die now, motherfucker. He shoots the guy. It's like- it's over the top, but man, it's still my favorite Al Pacino character and role. And the soundtrack, the excess of the 80s,
Yes.
it really feels like an epic. And that ending is just so fantastic of an ending. And the
It
mountain
is,
of cocaine. And
He's just fucking snorting that giant mountain of cocaine and then just running out there. Okay. It's like
you want a war?
you fuck with me, you're fucking with the best.
and the runtime is not a problem. I don't care how long it is. He's so entertaining to watch that like I don't even pay attention to that. It's like 3 hours. I don't even care.
You know what a hassa
That-
is? It's a
that
pig that
whole
don't fly
fucking-
straight.
That whole sequence too, where he shoots Frank and then he's like the cop, this guy's
Yeah.
like I told him, he's like, you fuck up too, Mel.
Yeah.
That whole
Yeah.
sequence is amazing.
That like I said, that yet again a reason why I love the film. And number 1, I mean, this is more of a personal favorite of mine. I grew up with this film a lot since I was a kid. It's a film not many people know called Uncommon Valor. Because
Okay.
the cast from Gene Hackman, Patrick Swayze, Fred Ward, Reb
Mhm.
Brown, Tim Thomerson, Randall Tetz-Cobb. Directed by Ted Koch, we did First Blood.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the first film to deal with people who are POWs.
Mm.
It's an action film, but it's also a drama. So there's good action in it, but it has such fantastic characters, has a great heart to it, has good dramatic. Gene Hackman is one of my favorite actors. I love Gene Hackman. From Narrow Margin to Mississippi Burning to, of course, Superman, etc. And he did such a wonderful job in that movie. And the ending, there's a couple people, some of my friends that I've told about it, and they would get back to me and say, each time I watch the ending, it's their first time. By the end, they tear up a bit. Now, it doesn't mean it happens to everybody, but the few people I've told it to, they get touched by the ending. I won't give it away, but to me, it's a very effective and for me one of the more criminally underrated films. Robert Stack, may you rest, he's in the film. Wholly under. It's pretty much a guy, a father, his son's missing in action, gets his son's buddies they train and they go back to find the POWs, like a more serious version of Missing in Action. And it was before that film. And that's a film I would always highly recommend to people, at least for the cast alone. It has Randall Tetz-Cobb has one of my favorite lines where he's in a jail because he's a bit crazy. He's like, I get energy from the air. I talk to polar bears. I converse with paramedics. Man, I fuck nuclear waste. I don't know what the fuck he means, but it shows his craziness. And he's always walked around with a grenade around his neck. I'm like, why does he do that? Well, in case one day he says, screw it, pulls the pin and see what happens next. so I love Uncommon Valor a lot. but that'd be my favorite of that year.
Nice.
All right.
Okay. Going to the chat first, or
Yeah, I've got a bunch of them. I'm actually just starring the ones where they,
okay.
so I can easily try to get back to them. So we got Scarface, Return of the Jedi, The Outsiders, Risky Business, and Trading Places. And then we've got a bunch of other people on here too. Christine, Videodrome, Psycho 2, A Christmas Story.
That's my top 5 right there.
Get crazy. Christine, Psycho 2, DC Cab. There's a DC Cab mention. National Lampoon's Vacation. Return of the Jedi, Scarface, Octopussy, Sudden Impact. Oh, wow. Vacation. Christmas Story's honorable mention. Sleepaway Camp, Psycho 2, 3, National Lampoon's, Outsiders, The Dead Zone. Honorable mention, Christine. And then, there you go. Uncommon Valor, Scarface, Unknown Orchard. That's pretty close to yours, man.
Very cool.
All right. Yeah. Go ahead, Mark.
Okay. Honorable mentions first. Dead Zone, which I really like, but I find myself not watching it as much as the other ones that are in the top 5. Christopher Walken, Martin Sheen, great performances by both of them. I like Cronenberg stuff quite a bit, and one of his movies is in my top 5, but that's probably one of my least watched ones. Other honorable mention, 10 to Midnight, because I love the
Oh,
music.
yeah.
And Andrew Stevens.
Fucking
Just-
Andrew Stevens, yeah. And one of the only films that didn't have Shannon Tweed in it as well. was
Right.
Andrew Stevens.
But he still plays like a damn near like a sex maniac. He's got that ridiculous sex toy
Yeah.
that Bronson just pulls out and flashes in front of all the other cops. I mean, every killer has like a gimmick, but he doesn't wear anything. He kills people in the nude. I mean, how can you not like that? So number 5 is Videodrome.
Okay.
I love James Woods. Easily one of my favorite actors ever. Always knows just how far to take it without going too far. This one, I think when I first saw it, I just wasn't sure what to make of it, which is probably the reaction most people have to it. But watching it again and again, I love the subtext. Cronenberg, man, I mean, he's got to be one of my favorite Canadian filmmakers. Truly a student of the art. I mean, shot very well. Love the effects. All around good stuff. But number 4, which I kind of wanted to move up, but I'm going to leave it at number 4, Psycho 2. Undoubtedly the best Psycho sequel. I think most people would agree with that. Adds a whole lot without adding too much, and it also has a great ending that could possibly even rival the original.
Mm-hmm.
I really like.
You don't see it coming, that's for sure, when you first watch it.
Yeah, first time I saw it, I was like, I'm not really sure what to make of what's going on here. Like, is this going the way I think it's going to go? And then it subverts expectations when you see like their whole plan and the scheme to sort of drive him nuts. And yeah, it's really, really well done. Definitely a worthy sequel. And Perkins is just fantastic. I think we can all agree with that too. Christine is number 3. First saw that one way back, like on VHS recording on TV. I'm not even sure if it had like all the scenes in it, but it always stuck with me. And man, it's probably still to this day why I'm a huge Carpenter fan. I love the music. It's something about like directors that like write their own movies, score their own movies, and like it's so much more of them in it. You know what I mean? Versus like just another guy coming in and directing a script from a stack of screenplays that he just picks out. Stockwell's great. Gordon's great. I love the characters. Love that movie so much. And the car, of course, is amazing. It's great stuff.
Don't let the shooters get you down.
Yeah, I mean, so many fucking great lines, like the old man, the one that he gives. I'm not gonna say it, but I think we all know which one that is.
Yeah.
2 is Trading Places. Grew up with that one as well. Such great Eddie Murphy jokes in there, especially when he's like on the. It's like a platform with wheels, and he's pretending to be blind.
Yeah,
yeah, it's
he's
just,
like a Vietnam vet or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he says his name, his war name was Agent Orange or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good. Always been an Aykroyd fan too. They play so well off of each other. They have a great chemistry. Perfect Christmas movie to watch around that time. Jamie Lee, of course, is
Jesus
perfect in that, and she
Yep.
has a really nice scene
Yep.
in that topless scene.
Man,
and
there's
Go ahead.
a scene in that movie though where they like anybody watching that movie now, they'll just be aghast. And it's the scene where they dress up in the train car and shit. It's
Yeah,
like
Oh man,
never in a million fucking
You
years
can't do
would you
that
be able to do
today.
that now. No.
no,
Yeah.
definitely not.
Lionel from the African Exchange Program. No. You can't do it now. No.
No, you really can't. People would really have a problem with that. Number 1, Scarface, of course. It's probably my favorite Pacino one too. I mean, so many great lines in that.
Yep.
Where he's talking about fuck Gaspar Gomez and the Diaz brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah, the music, the action. I mentioned it earlier. The runtime does not bother me at all. Very, very fun movie. Don't care that it's over the top though. I know, like that's one thing like the critics always harp on, but I don't give a fuck. It's still entertaining as all hell. So
It is. Yeah. I mean, it is. I don't know how over the top it is now, but like I'm sure back then it was fucking crazy over the top.
yeah,
But I mean, with Tarantino and everything, he kind of like took it to another level with that kind of violence and stuff.
right.
But yeah, it's great. All around great movie. Okay, I guess I'll go ahead and do mine. Honorable mention. I will give to. God, there's so many I could give honorable mention to. It's fucking ridiculous.
Angel.
Yeah, Angel, that would be great. I'm actually gonna say The Big Chill. All right, because that's one that's not been mentioned. That's a fucking hell of a cast, and I know it's not popular probably to like that movie now because it's basically just a drama. But I love that movie, even from the time when I was like a teenager. I love that movie because it's just an incredibly well acted fucking movie. It has a great soundtrack. Speaking of soundtracks, like it was kind of the movie that brought up that idea of doing like old 50s and 60s songs as like your soundtrack. You know, where that became like a new thing to do was play like older songs, you know, in newer movies. And
it's not popular to like that movie.
I didn't think so. I mean, maybe not in like the exploitation / horror film circles, because like I said, it's just a drama, really. I thought it was great. Still think it's great. My number 5 would be The Dead Zone, though. I think that out of all of Cronenberg's films, that might be the most like easily accessible of his films, and like I think Martin Sheen's performance in that movie pretty much seals it for a while. Like I would pick that movie and put it in the top 5 because he plays like the perfect politician asshole, you know, two-faced guy
Yeah.
that I've ever seen in a film, and the ending is perfect. Like there couldn't be a more perfect ending to a movie, in my opinion, in the way that movie ends. Like it doesn't end well, but it does. Like everybody kind of gets what they want, but in the weirdest fucking way possible. Like not in the way that you think would be
Mhm.
would be how that would happen. But yeah. It all kind of works out, but it's you think it's going to work out one way, and then it takes you like in a completely different direction. And plus everything in the middle of the film is, and it's one of the only movies where Christopher Walken is not fucking being Christopher Walken. He's not walking it up. He's just like straight playing like a role. He's a great actor, man. That's the sad part about Christopher Walken is like he kind of got caught up in all that weirdness that became, him at that time. But
Mhm.
like you got to
Yeah.
remember, this is the same guy that was in like the Deer Hunter and this movie. I mean, he's an exceptional actor when he's not being hammy and stuff, like just being straight. Um, so that's my number 5. Uh, my number 4 is War Games. I love
Okay.
that movie. I love
Mhm.
Matthew Broderick. I think that Matthew Broderick um, is incredibly underrated, as is Ali Sheedy in that movie. Like together, like they're really, really likable, and they make a really, really good couple in that movie. And the idea behind the movie is fucking amazing too, which is just like the idea of the movie is basically at the end, kid's really into games. He gets this computer simulated system to play nuclear war game, and it finds out like that nobody wins that game and shuts itself down. And that's like, I mean, there's just something about that where it's like, and then the final scene is like it starts launching all these nuclear warheads in all these different countries, and then goes through all the different scenarios, and then just ends and comes back on, and it's like something like funny game. Only way to win is to not play, and then it just like shuts down. Fucking yeah, killer. Number 3 is Trading Places. I think we can all agree. I think Trading Places
Love it.
might be my favorite Eddie Murphy movie, like of any of them. If I'm being honest, even like Beverly Hills Cop, and I love Beverly Hills Cop, but like for some reason, something about that combination of people at that time and is, I don't know. It's just like one of the best comedies ever made. So
I would agree.
Eh.
just love that movie. Did you say eh? Just fucking
Look, buddy.
dismissively?
I don't love Trading Places.
Fucking yeah.
Oh,
How
man.
dare you?
The stock market shit, just the
I'm
whole
kidding.
ending is just so fucking boring to me. The whole last third of the movie. I liked Eddie Murphy, but all that stock market shit, I didn't like the plot, the story.
Mhm.
I just did different rat's ass compared to like 48 Hours and Beverly Hills Cop and stuff. It's just not a bad movie, but I don't love the movie. Just not for me.
I've just got one thing to say to you right now, Matt. Beef jerky time. You want some beef jerky? There's plenty,
Yeah, who was that in the train car? Gleason.
Yeah.
Just man, he was so good at
Yep. Same dude from the Breakfast Club?
Breakfast Club. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, when he finds out, he's like, no more Swedish meatballs, no more goddamn beef jerky beef.
Yeah.
Oh man. I can go on about that movie forever. Number 2 is Videodrome. It's my There's 2 fucking Cronenberg movies on this list. I just now thought about that. I didn't even really even recognize that. But Videodrome, it's like some David Lynch films are just too David Lynchy, and some Cronenberg films are just too Cronenbergy. But
Mhm.
like, this is a really good combination to me of like, if David Lynch raped a Cronenberg film and like it came together and you put Deborah Harry in it in like her hottest time period and just made like
Mhm.
one of the craziest science fiction body horror, you know, films possible in the best way possible. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how else to explain it. It's just it's a movie unlike any other movie too. Like, I've never seen another
Mhm.
movie. Like, you don't go watch Videodrome and you're like, I'm gonna watch something else that's like it. There is nothing else that's fucking like it. Like, it exists in its own fucking
Yeah.
atmosphere, unless it's another Cronenberg movie. I mean, there is nothing else like it really. And my number one for 1983, I grew up watching this movie. You'll either love this movie or you will absolutely fucking hate it. You'll either love this particular brand of humor or you'll absolutely fucking hate it. And I realize that. And I still do not care because it's still number one on my list. It's Monty Python's The Meaning of Life.
Hmm.
I love those movies. I love The Holy Grail. It's kind of become like now like a cliche to like those movies because like, so much has been made about them and how fucking nerds like them and yada yada
Mhm.
fucking yada and whatever. But like, I don't know, man. I watched those movies since I was a kid. I still think they're fucking hilarious. So yeah, Meaning of Life is probably my favorite actually. So that is 1983. Meaning of Life, by the way, has got one of the most memorable sequences of any film I've ever seen. And that's where the guy eats himself until he fucking explodes. And all that left is like a hollowed out body and a heart that's still beating. He's like, yeah. Oh, yeah. But anyway, 83. Now, gentlemen, it gets really fucking hard.
I think for 84, we'll probably have a very similar
We have
very
to.
similar
Man.
list. I
We have
mean,
to.
I'm looking at
What-
the list of stuff from 84. Like, there's no way that damn near all of these, there might be one or two differences, but I think we'll see. I don't know.
Well,
Rambo, you kind of surprised me with Trading Places.
I don't know. I just something about that movie. I like Dan Aykroyd, but he annoys the piss out of me in that movie. I don't know why. And I love Eddie Murphy. I had nothing wrong with him, but the stock market just makes my brain freeze. I don't know what it's just.
I can understand that.
I don't
Wait.
I
know.
will tell you guys, like right now, too, that like two of the greatest years for movies were 1984 and 1985.
Oh yeah,
I mean, in my opinion, like after going through this list of like they just were.
yeah.
I mean, the 70s were great. And I'm sure if I went back and went through a 70s list, that there'll be some insane years. But I would be hard pressed to come up with two better years than 84 and 85. I don't know what the fuck was going on at that time in Hollywood, but like they were cranking out some fucking bangers for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cocaine.
A lot of cocaine, you're right. Yeah.
So did you want to look at the chat, or I just go to the list?
Well,
or-
they're all posting 84 stuff at this point, so I would just go
okay.
ahead. Yeah.
So 1984, my number 5 would be. Again, I enjoy this franchise, Indiana Jones: Temple of Doom. I love the darker quality of the film in terms of the cult, and didn't expect this kind of film to have people's hearts being ripped out and things of that nature.
Shim shim shabah, shim shim shabah, shim shim shabah. Yeah. Making sequences amazing.
I love Short Round Ki Hoi Kwan. Congrats on him winning an Oscar. He was also in the
Mhm.
Goonies after this. Harrison Ford once again doing a great job. I don't mind Kate Capshaw, but I can perfectly understand why people would be annoyed by her.
I'm very, very annoyed by her. How
Yeah,
you
I
feel
did
about
too.
Dan Aykroyd at Trading
Oh,
Places? That's how
yeah.
I feel about her.
I
Where was
understand.
Alan? Where was she? Like that's
It's
what
a
I wanted.
prequel.
I know, but still,
I get what you mean.
yeah.
I don't know why they made it prequel. It just seemed random. I get
Very.
what you mean, though. I can understand. But I just like the way it's directed. The beginning with the whole showmanship, anything goes, to the big gone, big set pieces, the mine chase sequence. I love the cult aspect. I know Spielberg hates that now because he's a pansy, but
Yeah, to say the least.
Yeah. Yeah.
but I thought that was a good direction. It was different. It didn't feel like a copy, and it made the villains more threatening. And I think it worked. I know I don't think the film is racist. People say that now. It's fucking. I think that's stupid.
Apparently, everybody thinks everything's racist now. Like,
Well,
came out in the
yeah.
80s.
But yeah, I love Temple of Doom. Number 4, The Terminator. Have to put The
course.
Terminator on there. My favorite of that franchise. I love that it's like a horror film. I love that it's like a slasher film.
Yep.
Michael Biehn, Linda Hamilton, the score. A lot of that works for how dark and gritty the feel of it is. And yeah, it's a great horror film. It's an action film, but it's also a really good horror film. And I think James Cameron, I mean, he did Piranha 2, but I will still call Terminator his first movie in a way. And
Yeah.
as much as I crap on James Cameron now, yeah, a lot of wonderful talent back then. That's the truth.
84 to 94. Rest in peace, James Cameron.
Yep.
That's his career. I mean, he's dead now.
So yeah, number 3, Beverly Hills Cop. Very hilarious film. Of course, originally it was supposed to be a Stallone film, which would later be Cobra. But I thought this worked out for the best. Really, it showed Eddie Murphy to hold a film on his own. There's other films he had done with either a Dan Aykroyd or a Nick Nolte. But those films brought him on the map. Beverly Hills Cop made him a star. And just the way he worked with the characters, the way he was with his wisecracks. So much worked in that movie, Beverly Hills Cop. And I mean, one more could be said about the first Beverly Hills Cop that has been said before. The great soundtrack, to be a smartass, it just works well. I mean, number 2 will be a curveball, but this is again a childhood favorite of mine. Runaway. Childhood favorite of mine is Runaway.
That's one of my honorable mentions.
Talking about the Selleck and Gene Simmons Runaway.
Yeah.
That's a classic. Yeah.
Is that like this fucking moron? What a class.
No, I'm being dead serious.
I'm
That's
just,
fucking classic.
I'm just fucking with you. I'm just having fun.
Fucking stupid ass. No, I'm being serious.
No,
I love that movie.
I'm just having fun. It's folks, it's YouTube. Just have fun. Don't be so fucking serious for all the people out there. Yeah, Runaway, Michael Crichton, may he rest in peace. He directed that. And I'm a big Tom Selleck fan. I love the character aspects of that character, him being afraid of heights, how that's employed in the third act. Gene Simmons, for a guy that's a rock star, I thought he made a really good villain. Very sinister. He had the right look. I love Luther. And just all the little stuff they have. That's very ahead of its time. Drones. Like there's a drone that goes into the room when there's a hostage. That's 84. Very ahead of its time. All the stuff with computers and what they do with that stuff. Very ahead of its time. And I love that. Yes, it looks antiquated, but that's how it would be in real life. Like it's not going to look like iRobot. Like if they make these type of things to go in your home, it could be a rough and tumble way like in that film where it's going to be looking like rough and tumble. It's not going to look so sleek and gloss like $100 million movie. It's going to be all these nuts and bolts put together to be in your homes. And I like that aspect of it. I love the spiders that shoot acid. It just, the bullets that go around corners. There's a lot of cool aspects of that film that I think makes it a very fun movie. And that's a childhood favorite of mine. Jerry Goldsmith doing the music. And then number one, I put Ghostbusters. I love the first Ghostbusters. Fuck the new ones and kiss my ass.
You didn't like that?
You don't like woke busters?
Yeah.
No, or Afterlife with the dead Harold Ramis they dug up.
You didn't like those
Uses-
tiny little marshmallows in the grocery store coming after him?
If I eat them, maybe.
That'd be killer. They just ate him, killed him.
But I mean, Ghostbusters, what can I say? So many great lines. Are you menstruating right now? What's that guy doing? Back off, man. I'm a scientist.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, the line at the end though. You know which one I'm talking about with Bill Murray.
No.
Go ahead.
If the yeah.
Or they're trying to explain everything to the mayor, and Aykroyd calls Peck dickless, and then Bill Murray
Yeah.
he says, "Yeah, it's true. This man has no dick."
Yeah.
But yeah, I love Ghostbusters tremendously. I mean, there's like you said, there's a lot of movies to choose in '84. It is hard to pick, but that was my pick for the 5. And there's a lot of different ones that you'd have though on the list. It's a great year.
Yeah. It's impossible really to pick 5 movies. So I mean, there's so many different ones that could be interchanged with these, like at any given
Yes.
time. I don't know.
Yeah, it was really tough for me. I mean, there's how many do I have on here? Maybe like 20 or so.
Mhm.
It was the right time though for cinema. I mean, if you were going to the movies, there was something to see literally every week.
Yep.
Same for 85. I mean,
Compared to this year and how many decades? This is the anniversary, 84.
yeah.
And that's sad. Look at this year and then look at all these movies. You got The Crow, Mark. You got Beetlejuice too.
No. Bunch of fucking horseshit.
How about you, Mark? Your list?
Go, Mark.
Oh, okay.
And rank them, damn it. Rank every one of them.
Oh no, I've
Okay.
ranked them all. They're all ranked. Honorable mention. He mentioned Runaway was on his list. That's an honorable mention for me. Me and Rambo did a fan commentary over that, so that's on his channel if anybody's interested. Body Double is another honorable mention.
Hell
Love
of a
that
movie.
one.
Yep.
Love the voyeurism and the look of the killer. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I almost put Body Double on here, but then I was like, man, I've got like De Palma on every fucking year.
I mean,
I've got to slow down.
it was the golden age for him. I mean, he was at the
Yeah.
top of his game at that time, so nothing wrong with that. Number 5, though, to officially start the list would be Savage Streets. I mean,
Yeah.
Listen, it doesn't get much better than Savage Streets, man.
yes,
You talk about a soundtrack. That's a
Oh,
hell of a
yeah.
soundtrack right there.
one of my favorite 80s soundtracks. Like I mean, from start to finish, you don't need to skip any tracks on that. It's just absolutely amazing. Incredible one-liners. Go
Yep.
fucking iceberg, obviously, from John Vernon.
So fucking killer.
And I'm a big fan of like I consider this more so a crime / exploitation movie, but I love gangs and crime movies. Like it's also a big part of why I love Class of 1984 so much. Like you just got a bunch of guys going around doing a bunch of crazy shit that they shouldn't be doing.
Yep.
And they all have these outrageous personalities, and then you put them all together, it's just nothing but good times on screen. Then Linda Blair, I mean, at that time,
Mhm.
I don't need to say anything.
Linda Blair in a bathtub. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Number 4 would be Friday 4, one of my favorite sequels.
Mhm.
Feldman, before he became adult Feldman, and pissed everybody off. The twins, Crispin Glover, definitely the kills, Ted White. Just, I love it. But everybody knows Friday 4. I don't need to get into that one too much. Nightmare on Elm Street, of course, is my number 3. That's one of the few. See, I saw the franchise in order. So at that time, I'm not even sure what year it was, but by the time I did see the first one, I was actually scared of Freddy. I was still pretty young though. Actually did give me nightmares. Um, Growing up and having met him and had conversations with him, it's all still somewhat surreal. And I don't really even get that way around like actors that I meet at cons and stuff. But I mean, Robert Englund's going to be on the Mount Rushmore for horror guys in horror. I mean, that's just,
Yeah.
but Charles Bernstein's score is fantastic. Love that. Of course, Craven is a legend in the genre. Love all his stuff. Love his style. And Johnny Depp turns in somewhat of an interesting debut performance, if you could call it that. But I'll go on to my number 2, Ghostbusters, which you talked about, is, of course, epic in every way possible. Love the entire cast. Such a fun movie. Saw that one as a kid. I love Ghostbusters 2 as well a lot. The first 2 were it for me. That's all I'll ever need. And that video game that they did in 2009, which to me is the only real part 3, if you want to consider it that. But number 1's Terminator. No, God, no. Definitely not. Number 1's Terminator for all the reasons you mentioned as well. 45 long slide.
You ready? So here it goes. He goes 12 gauge auto loader, 45 long slide with the laser sighting, Uzi 9mm. Then he goes phase plasma rifle in the 40-watt range. And he goes, only just what you see, pal.
Oh, it's so damn good, man. Love 1984. It's, man, this year in 85, I'm telling you, so tough. Like, you got other really cool stuff. Streets of Fire, Blood Simple. So many good movies. This was really tough to do, man.
It's endless, man, the list.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, those 5 are the ones I'd say I watched the most from that year for sure, like, without a doubt.
Yeah.
So the films of 1984 is incredibly difficult, man. 84 and 85 are like, trying to put together this list was almost impossible to narrow it down to 5. So my honorable mention then for 1984 will be Turn Around. Yeah, what you see. Some shit. Yeah, The Never Ending Story would be my honorable mention for 1984. I mean, I've got like 12 movies I could put as an honorable mention, man. I don't even have Ghostbusters. I don't have Ghostbusters in my top 5. If that tells you anything. Some shit's just got to go because like some of these films I just watch.
Yeah.
I don't have Nightmare on Elm Street in my top 5. I don't, to be perfectly honest with you, like, of all the franchise movies, like, you know, Halloween, of all the first movies in the franchise, like Halloween, Friday, like Nightmare on Elm Street's great. I just never go back and watch it. I just don't. Like, I don't know why. Maybe because I saw it 8 million fucking times as a kid. So
makes sense.
Yeah. But so to start out my list though, 1984, my number 5 is Revenge of the Nerds. It's a movie that I still fucking love and can still go back and watch at any point in time. It's one of my favorite, like, stupid, raunchy comedies from that time period. I don't know, man. Like, name any part of that movie, and it's fucking great to me. Especially, what's his name? Gibb.
Donald Gibb.
Donald Gibb, yeah. It's
the whole movie, man.
Is just ogre, yeah.
What about the scene that now the movie's trying to get canceled for, where the guy's got the gas mask?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's always some shit they're going to cancel somebody for, yeah.
Drugged in.
There's a story about that too that I heard where they actually they actually did something, which is fucking crazy to me.
I
Like
don't know
that
about that.
actress and Carradine like actually like screwed around. Like, which when I heard that story, I was like, there ain't no way. But apparently, like, there's some truth to that. So I don't know.
Hmm.
I always thought that movie was a great ensemble cast of like comedic actors and just it had everything. And the final sequence with the Olympic shit where they're all like those stupid games, they're drinking beers and shit, like fucking like the belching contest is amazing.
It's a fun film.
It's a great film.
Yes.
Somebody mentioned this in the chat that none of us would mention this movie, but they don't know me very well apparently because I am both into heavy metal and have played in bands, and so like anybody that has done those two things must include this movie in their top 5, and I think that it's one of the greatest almost documentaries of the time period of music, and that is This Is Spinal Tap.
Mhm.
So that's my number 4. I mean, man, everybody always talks about, this one goes to 11. There's literally 50 fucking quotable moments in that film. There's the scene where he's playing the piano and he goes, "This is nice. What's this?" And he goes, "I call this one Lick My Love Pump." and then there's the scenes where they're talking about all the drummers that died like garden accidents and like all this other shit too. Like, yeah, you can't dust for vomit. Like, there's so many fucking great quotes in that movie. Anyway, this is Spinal Tap. I'm sure everybody's seen that. Number 3, it just has to be this, man. It has to be. It just has to be. I'm sorry. The Karate Kid. Like,
Of course.
wore that fucking movie out. Wore that VHS tape. It's just the perfect underdog movie from that time period. It just is like there's something. It's got the perfect villain. It's got the perfect mentor. It's got the perfect kid, like the perfect baby face, like white meat baby face. Fucking everything about it.
Yeah. That's part of why it's not in my top 5, only because I've seen it so many times. Like how you said about Nightmare, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
My VHS tape is warped. I can't even watch the damn thing anymore.
Well, it's one of those movies though, too, with me, like these other 2 movies too, where like if it comes on at any time, I can just watch it.
Yeah.
Like if it just came on like the TV right now, I would be able to sit down and watch the whole thing all the way through. Jaws is one of those movies. Like there's just certain movies where it's that, I can do that with. Is Commando 84?
85.
85? I was gonna say, yeah. Thinking somebody brought up Commando. I'm like, don't bring up Commando yet. Might possibly be one of the greatest action films of all time, but we're getting there. My number 2 is Beverly Hills Cop. We've all talked about this. What's my number 1 gonna be? Everybody fucking knows it's
Terminator.
The Terminator. Like it's just man, like it's kind of the perfect combination of like low budget sci-fi and like doing something completely original with a script. And everything works in that movie. The cast and the dialogue and the script and the fucking fight sequences, the effects, the story, the background story and everything behind it and like what they're trying to do with it. Everything in that movie works. So it's got to be Terminator.
Yeah.
And yeah, like, I mean, somebody that mentioned a bunch of like Repo Man. I've got that on here. I've got Red Dawn on here. I even got Police Academy on here, man. Like, I mean, it's not going to be in the top 5, but Police Academy was a movie that like I wore out that too when I was a kid and could probably still watch it. Yeah. You don't fuck with Gutenberg. That's all I'm saying.
He's the Goot.
Have you seen him now on like Instagram and stuff? He's like the ultimate motivational speaker now.
No, he's on Instagram.
Find him on Instagram and like watch his shit. And it's always like,
Wow.
hey guys, I woke up this morning and I just want to send some positive vibes out. It's just constant. Like he's like, what was that guy's name? It was like the motivational speaker. Like, oh God. Guy that had the ponytail and shit. He's kind of like that guy.
For sure.
Yeah,
Anyway.
Okay, I'll look him
He's
up.
just extremely like positive about everything. But
Before you said the
84,
ponytail, I thought I was going to say Richard Simmons, but
he's kind of like Richard Simmons, but a little bit less eccentric.
okay.
Tony Robbins, that's the fucking guy I was trying to think of.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right, 1984 though, from the chat, some of the picks that I've got here. We'll get to 85, which is the last year for this one. Thank God we didn't try to do all 10 fucking years. This would have been like Terminator, Repo Man, Body Double. Body Double's good. And A Soldier Story. I hadn't really heard of that one. Okay, let's see. Now the Comet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gremlins. How the fuck did I forget about Gremlins? Yeah.
I had it on
Like,
here. I never watch it. I've seen it so many times.
I know it's kind of the same. Like I'm kind of like sick of that movie. Yeah, that's basically my list. Yep. Stop Making Sense is a great one. That's a concert film from the Talking Heads.
Okay, I haven't heard of that one.
Uh,
Now the Comet's a good one.
That comment keeps coming up.
Nice to see the love for Repo, man. Thought I was the only one.
Yeah,
I love that one.
I thought he was a jobber, but a lot of people seem to like him. I just
Repo.
Repo man. The Terminator Starman. Starman is another one. Yeah.
Yes.
Forgot about that.
I just completely forgot about that one.
Me too.
Terminator, Ghostbusters, Karate Kid, Gremlins, Red Dawn, Streets of Fire. Streets of Fire is a popular one too. Runaways on there.
Nice.
It was hard not to make that one an honorable mention for sure.
Yeah. Now the comments really got a lot of love in this chat. I'll say that. Amadeus. Front me Amadeus. Ghostbusters, Nightmare on Elm Street, John Temple Doom. Ghostbusters, Beverly Cop, Karate Kid, yep. So everybody seems to be roughly on the same page, yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
All right. So we got 1 year left, and it's a fucking doozy. 1985, which to me is probably my favorite overall year for music, film, just pop culture, entertainment shit, period, is 1985.
This is a really tough list. Like, oh man, there's so much shit on here. Oh, we'll see.
So 1985.
Yeah.
Number 5. Honorable mention, I'll put Invasion USA. Love that film. It's Chuck Norris killing communists. Saves the world, saves the country, one machine gun at a time. And Richard Lynch, when he's not ripping up posters, he's blow up houses. And I mean, yeah, I know it hit you with so many rights you don't beg for a lift. A lot of fun stuff. It's over the top, it's goofy, but man, it's a lot of fun. And Joseph Zito, who did Friday 13 Part 4 and Missing in Action.
He say? He goes, something like, one of these days you're going to wake up and it'll be time to die.
You tell Rostov, it's time to die.
Yeah. There's that one scene too where they're trying to blow up like a church or something. He gets up behind them and he's like, they try to like ignite the bomb. He goes, didn't work, did it? He goes, now it will.
So I had to put that as honorable mention, but number 5, I'm going to put Death Wish 3. I love that film, how insane it is. Like you said, it is more playful, but just from stuff like the bash of the... What's that? It's teeth. Him getting that old machine gun, I forget what it's called, that he barely carries, like blowed up the whole neighborhood. Half of New York city block gets blown up.
The
I
final
love,
shot with the guy at the end, the bazooka.
yep,
Gotta love that.
Yeah.
just like Invasion USA, they both end with a bazooka to the face.
Mhm.
That's the 80s.
I think it's my favorite Death Wish movie. It's the one I grew up with, and it's also just insane.
Yeah,
And so
yeah, I love the Will D. Magnum, and my favorite Charles Bronson film. It's very straightforward. I like the guy who plays the villain, and like I said, it's like Death Wish meets like an 80s beat 'em up video game. Because a lot of those bad guys are like straight out of like a Double Dragon Final Fight type of game,
Mhm.
and he shoots them all. Number 4, Fright Night.
yep.
That was almost my number 1. It's my number 2. I love Fright Night.
Yeah, I adore. I love Roddy McDowell. I love the
Mhm.
concept. Yeah, it's funny, but at the same time, it's got some really good creature effects. I say Roddy McDowell is the MVP for me. I love his character. I like the lead guys: William Radsdale, Evil Ed, Stephen
Mhm.
Jeffries. So much of that just works. Just easily one of my favorite vampire films. Couldn't get enough of rewatching Fright Night. Just love the score. Brad Fiedel did the Terminator. A lot of that just works even to this day. And
Mhm.
unlike the remake, which that's another thing.
That didn't happen.
Yeah, there you go.
fucking Colin Farrell or what?
Yeah, you want some Brewsties, bro? Here's some Brewsties, bro.
A horrible fucking movie that was.
Number 3, of course, this come from me, so it makes sense. Rocky 4. That's one of those films I watched so many times as a kid. Yes, it's one long training montage. I don't give a shit because I love every bit of it. It's one long music video, but man, you want to talk about a movie that says what the 80s were? That's a film that does it. My favorite soundtrack of all time. My favorite Rocky villain, Ivan Drago. I love the fight scenes, the sound effects. And yeah, that soundtrack just was my childhood. I wore that Walkman out so much, listening to that cassette tape over and over again. Hearts on Fire, all that. And yet, I love the train montages. I love the style. Very short. It's like 80, 90 minutes long. I could watch it anytime and just have a great time with it. Number 2, Commando. I love Commando. So I'd probably kill you last. I lied. Just wall-to-wall action, great comic book violence. Remember I said I shoot you between the eyes, or shoot you between the balls.
No.
So much
Don't-
stuff to
Don't don't bother my friend, he's dead tired.
Yeah, so many quotable lines. Mark Lester, which Mark
Mhm.
mentioned on Class of '84.
Yeah.
They knew what kind of movie it is, and they just went with it. And thank you for that. And then number 1, my favorite, of course, is Rambo First Blood Part 2. To me, that is one of the quintessential action films of the 80s, from Jared Goldsmith's score to the C4 explosive arrow to I'm coming to get you, Murdoch. Just the helicopter finale. Just I could watch that film anytime. For me, it's one of the ultimate comic book movies. When I was a kid, still is to this day. So that's one of those films that got me into movies really as a kid, of that escapism, fun, and entertainment. So
Mhm.
Rambo 2 is one of my all-time favorites, and great year. I mean, Rambo 2, Commando, Invasion USA, Death Wish. For a fan of action films like me, it's a hell of a year. So, plus you had American Ninja, you had a lot of other stuff there. So, yeah, Rambo 2 is my favorite of '85.
Nice.
It may be the best year for action films. Like, I don't know. There's so many that year, man. Like, so many
Mhm.
that came out.
Yeah, I mean, that was probably, hell, 85, 86, hell, even 87. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and then the 90s just took it even further with so many incredible action movies in the 90s. That's going to be a really difficult decade to do. I know for me, probably for you too, Rambo.
Yeah.
Buddy, you shut the fuck up. Come in here and start. Just be glad we didn't try to do all the 80s. That was the original idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn, that would have been tough.
All right, Mark, go for it.
Oh man, this is so tough. Because like I mean, live and die in LA. I love it, but how often do I watch that? Nowhere near as much as these other ones. Honorable mentions, I'll just get these out of the way. First Blood Part 2, which you mentioned, Rambo. And Demons.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Everything from them doing the cocaine and the actual Coca-Cola cup with the straw to the effects and the music is fucking fantastic. So love those. Number 5. I'm looking at it and I probably should have. I want to change it up last minute, but I won't. I'll just leave it.
Nobody will ever know.
Friday 5, actually.
Hell
is my
yeah,
number
you gotta
5.
have Friday 5 on there. Come on.
I'll be honest, I did not like it as much as I do now back then. I think avoiding it for a little while in my younger years and then going back to it once I got a bit older, like my later teens, I saw all the pure comedy gold that's on display, from everything Ethel says to
Every fucking line she has in that movie is pure gold, man. Yes. Who the fuck are you? What the fuck do you want?
And I've seen it so many times, like I could still keep watching it. Like that's one of the few ones that like I can't ever get tired of. For some reason, I could watch it a million times over.
Yeah.
Number 4. I'm surprised I only got one John Hughes movie on here. Would have been Breakfast Club, but I went for Weird Science just because I watched that one. I mean, Kelly is fucking the epitome of hot in that. I mean, that's my whole childhood right there, wrapped up in a. I mean, who didn't want to make a chick as hot as her when you were like in your preteen years? So,
Bill Paxton in that movie.
Yes, I was gonna say that. Bill Paxton. He probably makes the movie for me. I mean, if he wasn't in it, I might not even watch it as much as I do, even though I still really enjoy the plot. And I think Anthony Michael Hall does a solid job. But yeah, the lines, I mean, the sequence with Anthony Michael Hall and his mom and dad and the whole bathroom thing, what he's really doing in there. Just great stuff. Number 3, without a doubt, this is the best Romero zombie movie. Day of the Dead.
Wait, what?
It is.
You'll
It just
me to
is.
agreeing with him.
Yeah.
Day of the Dead is the best.
I didn't know Dawn of the Dead was made in 85. Fuck.
But yeah, those characters, God damn. I mean, it's not meant to be funny. It's really not. But how can you not laugh at those guys and everything they're doing? I love the idea that the zombies are at the top of the food chain now and human beings are living underground while the zombies live above ground. That whole subtext I always enjoy. People talk about the consumerism and stuff in Dawn of the Dead, but I really like those elements that are in Day of the Dead more. Of course, the effects, which I could go on and on about, just make it easily my favorite zombie movie. Not even just my favorite Romero movie. Friday Night 2. Friday Night is number 2. That one you mentioned, Rambo.
Oh, yeah.
Man, I've probably said this a million times on the show, but there was a point in time where as a kid I watched that movie. I don't even know how many times. Like every day after school, I come home and watch Fright Night. So it's burned into my brain forever. The music, Chris Sarandon is actually really good as the vampire too. You mentioned Roddy earlier, who's great.
Yeah.
And I don't mind Amanda Bierce. She's okay.
Yeah.
She's probably the weakest of the
Yeah. She's
of the
weakest
bunch.
link.
Yeah. but still, those effects, man, that's still her character Amy when she becomes the vampire at the end. That's my
Yep.
favorite look for any vampire ever.
Yep.
So it's really high up there for me. It was almost my number one. And the effects for her closely, somewhat rival the effects in part 2 for the vampire in part 2. If you guys remember how she looks at the very, very end. But my number one is Back to the Future. How could it not be? So many quotable lines. Hopefully it never gets remade. I'm praying that never happens. I know it's only a matter of time once those guys pass on. Like they've probably been dying to remake that franchise. I've never heard anything about it, but I'm guessing
Can you imagine how much
they
that
have
would
something in
suck?
their contract that says that
God.
they won't let it happen.
Oh yeah,
So-
Bill Skarsgård will be the fucking
Oh,
like.
don't. That's like my nightmare right there.
No, it won't be Bill. It'll probably be somebody like what's that fucker that played
Man.
Spider-Man? I can
Tom
see him being-
Holland.
Yeah, like Tom Holland will be the Michael J. Fox role. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jenna Ortega will be the girl, and
Yep.
yeah, it'll suck.
She's got to in her contract. She's got to be in at least one of every 2 movies right now. Jenna Ortega.
Yeah, so that's my top 5. I mean, hell, I love Goonies, but I don't watch it anymore. So that's another one. Would have been on the list, but I don't watch as much as I used to.
Don't you worry, Mark.
Wore it out. I mean,
Something tells me it's going to make an appearance.
I bet. I don't want to keep going on and on about the ones that should have made the list or could have made the list, because then I'll probably be giving yours away. So you go ahead, Uncle Bill.
Well, there's like literally 20 films that could be honorable mentions in
Yes.
this.
Yeah.
But I'm going to give my honorable mention to one that didn't get talked about at all, and I fucking love this movie, and I think it's one of the best comedies ever. Spies Like Us.
Shit. I did not think about that.
Chevy Chase, Dan Aykroyd, God, man, like basically 2 like dipshits that are working for this like intelligence agency, and they get promoted because they were expendable. Essentially, they move them up to this position, and the testing sequence in that, man, where like Chevy Chase fucking taking the test, he's got that like arm, and he's got all the answers in it, and he's pulling out like shit, all pulling out of his mouth, pulling it out of like the arm, like the eye patch and everything. That's just so great. And then the scene where they're trying to be like doctors, like doctor, like just that whole thing is amazing. I love that movie. So my number 5 is To Live and Die in LA, because I'm a huge freaking Mark, and it had to be on there. That movie to me is like what a cop film would probably really be like if it was real. Like, it doesn't have a good ending. All the characters are basically like unlikable and have their own flaws. And I mean, from the villain, quote unquote, to the hero, quote unquote, to everything in between, like they're all a mess. And the way the film works out is a mess, which is great. It's got an amazing soundtrack score as well. It's got a car chase sequence that rivals the French Connection. I think it is better than the French Connection, as a matter of fact. Most people don't list it as such, but I think it is, in my opinion. And just, I can't think of another film that has the balls to end the way that film does. From beginning to end, though, I'm in awe of that movie, and have watched it like I got the Kino 4K and watched it like probably 10 times in a week. Like, that's no joke. So yeah, that would be my number 5. If you haven't seen that movie, anybody, like, check that movie out. My number 4 is a movie that probably nobody would have predicted, but it's a film I grew up with too and watched, and I was always fascinated by how different this movie was than any other movie, in the way that it's made and the tone and just everything about it. Better Off Dead is my number 4. John Cusack. It's just such a hard movie to explain, because like it's a dark comedy. He's the whole point of the movie is just he's trying to kill himself like throughout the whole
Yeah.
fucking movie, and like so much that he breaks up with his girlfriend, who's Amanda Weiss, who's also in Nightmare on Elm Street, and it's just him wanting to kill himself, but like not being able to for one reason or another, and his family's crazy. His mother is amazing, played by Kim Darby, I think, and she's making all this shit. Like she makes all these meals and stuff, and like they're just kind of sitting there and they'll crawl off the table, and like I can't explain it and do it justice, but like there's a race sequences in it with a couple of Asian guys that are one of them is trying to be
Howard Cosell.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
the humor in it is so insane that it's really impossible to.
The paper boy, I want my $2.
$2. He's chasing him down the hill at the end, like they're like the ski sequence and everything. Yeah.
Dude, my $2. Even that there's a horror scene where all the paper boys come out to chase him.
Yeah. He's always breaking the windows of the garage, like with the fucking papers. Like all 5 of the windows are broken. I don't know. It's just a classic movie. That's another movie I could watch anytime that it comes on.
Love that one.
My number 3 is Friday 5. Because it is like fuck you if you don't like it. I don't know what to tell you. Like I don't understand how the fuck anybody couldn't like that movie, really. Like it's the most fun of all the Friday the 13th movies by a mile. And by a mile, it has the best characters of all the Friday the 13th movies, too. Like it's got Violet, it's got Joey, it's got Demon,
Debbie Sue
Ethel,
Voorhees.
it's got everybody in that movie is memorable for some reason or another. I mean, is it goofy? Yeah, but I mean, you definitely like have a good time when you watch that movie. Like you can't help but to have a good time. And everything that Ethel says in that movie is great, and it's still quotable to this day. I got a bomb on me. Like, what? Like, where does that even come from? My final words. So Friday 5 will always be, it'll always be my favorite. My number 2 is Back to the Future for all the reasons that Mark talked about. And of course, that would leave one movie that has to be my number 1. If you I was 5 or 6 years old when this movie came out. So if you grew up at this time period, then you say you didn't fucking like this movie, you're a fucking liar. Everybody that I knew liked this movie, and they had the damn board game and the video game and everything else. So don't sit there and give me any fucking bullshit. The Goonies is my number 1, and it always will be.
Okay.
Kids suck.
And Ramsey.
Yeah. It's wet, ain't it? Drink it.
This is supposed to be water?
Oh, God. Yeah, the Fratellis. The idea of like a kid adventure group or whatever. I mean, it's the perfect setup.
Robert Davi,
Yeah.
That's great.
So that's mine for 1985. And been a lot of different. I'm glad that all of ours were different mostly too. Like they were pretty varied in that too. So let's see what other people have got. Back to the Future, Color Purple, Silverado. I didn't think about. Lost in America, Cocoon. After Hours is great. Scorsese.
Yeah.
Fletch is great too. Back to the Future, Return of the Living Dead. That was another one that almost made it. Man, it's another movie I could watch anytime. As is Reanimator. As is Commando.
I got all those on the list. It's so hard to do the top 5.
Like 85 is just packed full of movies, man. Like this is just a small idea of the movies that are in 85. Breakfast Club, House, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, any one of those. Clue, I love Clue.
Yeah.
Explorers.
Explorers I like until the end. The end is shit.
Yeah.
But the rest of the movie I like.
Well, Neopunk put Better Off Dead as his first, so that's
Wow.
unusual. Breakfast Club,
Very nice.
Back to the Future, Rocky 4,
That's a solid list, Neopunk.
Silver Bullet, Death Wish 3, To Live Not in LA, Rocky 4, Spies Like Us. There we go. And Pale Rider. I hadn't thought about Pale Rider. Legend,
Yeah.
Explorers, Friday 5, Day of the Dead, Reanimator, Demons, Back to the Future, Death Wish 3. Death Wish 3 gets a lot of love on here too. Chaz's God, Bright Night, Rambo 2, Last Dragon.
I
Last
thought about putting
Dragon.
that on there.
Yeah.
It just
Goonies and American
I
Ninja.
actually went to the same high school as that guy.
Time
Yeah, the what's his Show Nuff, that guy.
Showed up.
Oh, the
Really?
bad guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some people like of course I was like my first year in high school, and I get there and like that's what a bunch of people were talking about. They were like, hey, like go look in the hallway. They had like this thing up of him in the hallway, and they even had all the previous years like class photos. You could look at like this mural thing that they had, and sure enough, he was in there sitting right in the middle of
That's
the
killer.
class.
Shown up.
Yeah.
Friday Night, Weird Science, Real Genius, Summer Rental. Yeah, I had that one on there too. On the
Nice.
list. Asian USA Commando. Better Off Dead. All right. Well, that is the show, I guess. We're 2 hours and 45 minutes almost in. And what a hell of a show it has been, too. So I guess we'll follow up, man. It seems like the only logical thing to do would be next week to do 86
Well,
through
Let's
90.
reach is Friday the 13th.
Oh, fuck. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah.
I mean that's kind of a good idea anyway, like to break it up, you know.
Yeah. So yeah, next week is
whatever.
Friday the 13th. So we're doing the tier list of Friday the 13th characters. So the week after that, you're right, we'll do this.
Yeah.
So there's been a shit ton of people. I think this has been our most popular show, actually, in here the whole time. So thanks to everybody that has joined. And if you agree with us, that's great. And if you don't agree with us, that's fine. That's great too.
Yeah.
And that is how we will do the next one. And like Matt was saying, next week will be a tier listing. I don't know how the fuck we're going to get through this, but it's every Friday the 13th
another 3-hour show.
It's not Jason. Yeah, is going to be on this tier list. So
I just wonder how big that tier list is going to be. Like,
I've seen it, and it's fucking insane. Yeah.
okay.
So, some of them I'm looking at. Some of them from like the later movies, like Jason X and stuff. Some of the minor characters, I'm like, I don't even know. Remember that character? So,
CK joining us on that one.
Yeah, he definitely is. Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay.
But yeah. So, any parting thoughts or words of wisdom or anything? What do you guys got going on? Start with you, Matt.
Me. Let's see. Pretty much just fulfill more requests. Going to be looking into quite a bit more movies, whether it be some fan films, the movie called Frontiers.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. Just a lot more requests coming. Lawn Lades was requested, so I'll be checking that out sometime.
Nice.
Thankfully, no Beetlejuice 2, so I'm saved for that.
I
more
don't think
requests.
you'll be for long.
Yeah, it's coming.
Yeah.
Like, okay, it was that bad. Like, I saw the video. It was that bad. Beetlejuice.
Oh,
2.
it's worse than you can even imagine. Yeah.
Man.
If you thought Alien was bad, you wait till you fucking see Beetlejuice. Yep.
So more of that to come. How about you, Mark?
I had an issue with my last video. It got fucked up really bad, so I had to delete it. I did not start over. So I'll be redoing that one and re-uploading it again. But September has officially started, so sets for September will be this weekend. I'll probably do 2 this weekend, which will be the franchise firsts, and it'll be a Final Destination set, and then the set for a house. So that's it for this week.
Is that the first movie house, or does it have all the sequels?
It's a box set with all 4 on 4K.
Okay.
Comes in a real fucking house. He bought a house.
Oh yeah, we were offline. How was it watching Substitute?
Oh yeah, somebody said that they're the beginning of the show. I
Replacement.
forgot they're doing the replacement disc for that already.
But you had to have actually purchased it directly from them, right? From Via Vision, or could it be from like a third-party site?
I'd say you probably did have for.
Oh, that's bullshit.
Fucking bullshit. I'm gonna email them anyway and show them like a receipt, and maybe they'll replace it for me.
Because we're off, and I'm like, hey Mark, how's this? He tested it, and it was completely screwed up. And I wish the reaction was captured on camera. He was like, "Oh, for fuck's sake!"
That's the most disappointing release of the year for me. I don't think I've had anything that's been as fucked up as that.
It'd be tough.
Some people might say the opera release, but we kind of expected that. I did not. I don't think anybody expected the Substitute Blu-ray to be fucked up.
So, and Vendor Syndrome. Look forward to the keep. Thanks for spoiling it.
Good job, dumbasses. Yeah. Keep will be coming out in November if anybody didn't know. So, so a couple of shows that I want to mention real quick, and I'll make sure I don't fuck this up because I will fuck it up. You know how I am. Tomorrow at 7, I'm going to be doing Eurocrypt with Dirk, and we're going to be reviewing a bunch of movies that not a lot of people talk about, really. Peeping Tom, Repulsion, and The Haunting of Julia. And so that should be a cool show. And then on the 15th, that begins the show with Garrett that I'm going to be doing, which is the Bravo Countdown show. The 100 Scariest Moments, or whatever the name of that show was, 101 or 100 or fucking, I don't remember exactly how many it was, but there's a bunch of scary moments. We're going to be doing that. Looking back on those and kind of like commenting on what we think about their picks. And then the Friday the 13th show is on Friday the 13th. So we'll be doing the character tier list of every character.
It's going to be insane.
I'm going to be honest with you. Like, we may not be able to do every character because like some of those characters, I don't even know. Like I really don't even know who they are. So they're like side characters and stuff that are barely in some of these movies. So yeah, we'll play it by ear about what we can.
Well, I mean, it at least has to be characters that like were killed. We can't just pick like some random guy like in Friday 5 who shows up, smokes a cigar.
Yeah, well, if you think about it, you think about how many people in those movies, if you go through like all of them, like think about how many people that would just be that have been killed. Like, yeah, it's gonna take a minute. But we're gonna do it. But yeah, so until tomorrow, which will be the next show I'll be in. That's the Eurocrypt show. Tune in for that at 7. Yeah. I guess that we die and Friday Night Lives, right?
That's right.
Exactly.
So see you guys next Friday.
Friday forever.
I'd like to tell people, thumbs up the video, Uncle Bill.
Would you?
Yes. Thumbs it up with violence and fury and just love everything about it.
You hit the heart button, then you hit the ass button, then you hit the go fuck yourself button. Follow that up with the I don't give a shit button.
There's all kinds of wonderful shirts over at shop.deadpit.com. Simply the best horror shirts. On TeePublic, there are others, but they all suck. You can get some Dead Pit Radio shirts. You can get Last Out on the Left. The Hills Have Eyes. Texas Chainsaw. Oh, wait, you can't say Texas Chainsaw. All kinds of shirts, folks. You're gonna love them. Shop.deadpit.com.
Special thanks goes out to our supporters on Patreon. Do you know what kind of stuff you can get on Patreon, Uncle Bill, starting at only $1 a month?
What's that?
Access to every Dead Pit show since 2005. We got almost 200 fan commentaries that we've done over the decades.
We have a literal jukebox full of songs and thousands of reviews. I don't even know how many shows are up on there now that we've done over the years.
Hundreds of thousands.
You need to figure this out now and subscribe to us on Patreon and YouTube and Instagram and help us to 1 million. The road to 1 million subscribers starts today.
So Dead Pit on Patreon.com. Join today. Tiers start at only $1, but I'd recommend